To order, Budget Committee meeting here on the 25th of March, 26, at 6 o'clock in the Opera House. Tonight's overall objective is to go over at least our budget process, go over the different departments that have been talked about over the last few nights. Get some sound ironed out, okay. And then see if we come up with any recommendations to make to the board for changes to the select board's budget. You want me to keep rolling, Jeff? We'll go with it and see what happens.
I think that's a yes.
So starting off, just want to see if there's any, from the committee members, any agenda considerations and changes that we want to add to the agenda that we sent out, or that was posted.
The only thing I want to add, this is fun.
Echo.
Fine with the agenda, Bill Freeman.
Talking about the capital improvements. Are those capital improvements that you're saying you want to see included in this budget cycle, or you're talking for?
Ones that are getting added on to this budget.
Okay, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll probably slide that in and add that, like you said, under the Public Works Department? Okay. All right, any other considerations, changes to our agenda? Okay, moving along. I think we'll open it up to public comment now. Just based on numbers and what we're forecasting for time and duration of the meeting tonight, we're just gonna try to hold it to 5 minutes and under for any public comment, just so that everyone will have a chance to speak that wants to do so. So, any public comment from anyone that's joined us? Also, thank you for joining us, showing up tonight, making an appearance. Appreciate any feedback, any support, any involvement from the public. Let her rip. Step on up. Come on down. Just call me Mr. Barker. Come on down.
Oh.
So we're getting only 5 minutes, nobody else wants the space, do I get more?
Well, I don't know if anyone else wants any space or not, but I'll arm wrestle you for it.
I'll take 5 minutes. Rick Mitchell in West Rockport. I want to, Jeff, I don't know what's going on, there we go. I want to commend everybody all the way through the Board of Selectmen. You guys have done a great job. Been here for my whole life. And your budget committee, I think, needs to be respected, and I think you guys need to think about what they're saying. I've been watching them for 8 days, 4 days, whatever. And it's tough. It's tough for me to look at a $7 million budget in '22 and a $14 million budget in '25. It's really hard. I didn't just move here. I've been here since 67 years. And there's people out there that can buy my place tomorrow morning if there was a for sale sign on it. But I don't have a sign on it, and I want to stay in town. And I'd like to think, when I told my wife this morning my kids could stay in town, that would be nice too. So all I'm saying is give it some thought, do the right thing, pass it back to the board. You guys need to do the right thing. I know you guys keep telling us you're hearing us talking. A lot of people aren't gonna talk until it comes time to vote. I've heard that from many of them. So, I'm not gonna take much more than that. I've got a whole list I could have talked about, but, can I answer any questions? Is there anything there that you guys would like to hear from somebody like me that's in town?
Yeah, what are your biggest concerns with the budget? What are you focusing on? Is there anything in particular with the budget, or are you just, more or less noticing that it is an elevated budget?
To me, it's a very expensive way to run the town. And I know one of the topics tonight is gonna be the architect. I think the money can be spent better. I think we went from, somebody said 26 employees to 44 employees. I think we're gonna add a 45th employee that will probably be here. And you're probably not gonna get out of that person what you're really looking for, not for the money that you're paying. Yeah. I've been in management myself for 40 years, and you guys that are in management, you guys know what you gotta do. You gotta do it. You gotta have that conversation. John, you're in charge. You have that charge, you talk to your people, and you do the best thing you can do for the town. I've been there, there's hard conversations to have. Part of this job for the architect shouldn't be to come in and help manage the people. That's a big concern. Another real big concern, I'm sure I'm not gonna get any friends on this one, is if this Opera House truly costs $250,000 a year to run, and we get $50,000 a year revenue, is there a business around town that would run like that? I've got quite a list. Anybody wants to hear it, fine, but I'm sure you guys have got your notes. I think you guys will do well. I think you guys need to sit and talk about it. You've got some very educated people here, people that know a lot, you know? If you're gonna do some hiring, open it up. Have a committee, have some education behind it. This gentleman last night talked about having an architect that had 30 years of experience. That might be something to look at, but you still got an architect, you know? You haven't got somebody that's gonna run the 44 employees, or even a quarter of them, so. Ding ding, time up. Any more questions?
You've got a couple minutes left. You can stretch your legs some more.
Okay, so that's where I'm coming from. I grew up in West Rockport. I moved here from Camden at 77 years old. I walked on a piece of land. I said, I want to build a house there. I did that. I'm there today. I got up this morning. I said, I'm very lucky to live in this town. I'd love to keep the people that are in this town. And I can tell you that most of them, they won't come. They're not gonna come, you know? But I will tell you that a lot of them are gonna go to the vote. And you're gonna get negative votes unless you really get the word out there and do something. Last year's voted in by 39 votes, is that correct? And I'll be honest with you, if I voted, it'd been 38. So I'm not just gonna go back to the diner and have everybody tell me how good I did. They did that 40 years ago to me. And I told them, no, I'm coming in, I can go home tonight and feel good about what I did, you know? You've got some really good people here, and you've got some really good people here that grew up in town. They've got far more time, or I should say far less time than I do, but they're here serving on this board. I think that speaks very highly, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate your time, Rick.
I appreciate you guys, I really do. You guys are serving for the public, there's a no thank you for that. But feel good when you go home and say, hey, I did what I could do. I don't think that we're where we are for any special reason. I don't think we need to go any further. So I hope I said it nicely enough, but yeah, I'm welcome for comments, chase me down, whatever you want to do.
Thanks, Rick. Good, thank you, Rick, appreciate it. Okay, any other public comment from anyone tonight? Okay, seeing no hands, I think we'll move along on our agenda, down into the discussion topics. One thing I do just want to point out, just because it looks like it was provided here, Megan, I believe, put together some of the numbers. I don't know if this is posted anywhere yet online, I'm assuming not. But it's just some of the numbers on the impact that moving some of these positions around may have. Some of the EMS calls, revenues and expenditures, and some of the topics through the Public Works Department that I'm sure we'll be referencing some of these numbers tonight for the public. I know you can't see these, but that's what this packages they just handed out. So, moving along, we'll start off with the Public Works Department. I think one of the, most talked about or most conversed about, sections in the budget this year was the Public Works Director position. Is that the actual title? What was the actual
Director
title?
of Public Services, but
Director of Public
It's all right.
Services.
I knew what you meant, so, yeah.
That would be a new position that's gonna be added. Some of the funding for that, or I should say, all of the funding for that was in the Public Works Department. Some of the revenue came back in from wastewater. They were gonna split that position's time 60-40
Yep.
between the Public Works Department and the wastewater department.
Yep.
So I'm gonna, I think, open it up to committee members right now to see if they have any comments to make, start off on this position. Anyone, don't all speak at once.
Clay, I will start if you wish. Bill Freeman,
Yes, sir.
can you hear me? I mean, I think my feelings have been known from the beginning on this. I just think that instead of putting close to $200,000 in the payroll, I would rather see these projects which John has outlined, which need to take place, hire outside people on a project-by-project basis, on a contract basis. So if we need help with the roads, hire somebody as an expert to help with Mike on that. And if the harbor, that we're talking about the grant we received and so forth, I just think to add another employee, another $200,000, which is an ongoing, and I realize John said he can fire people as well as hire them, I know that. But I just don't think that the projects that we're talking about now, okay, that we need to hire somebody. I think we ought to hire experts, outside people to help with these projects for the time being. Maybe a year or two that will change our mind on that, but that's my feeling. So I'm against hiring the new engineer position.
I was concerned too about what, as Bill said the other day, that we're not going to get somebody with a lot of experience, probably get a new person just out. And we need somebody who's got a wide level of experience. So I don't know if,
Yeah, I can add to that.
Yeah.
So, my perspective on it, a little different because of the work that I've done sort of in this arena for the town. I actually support the position with the provision that we need to make room in that budget for the headroom. In other words, we've got, I don't know, it's 900,000 in paving and some more for sidewalks or whatever it is. And I realize it is a heavy lift with respect to who we hire. That may not be feasible. But if we don't try, we'll never get there. So I see when I say try, I mean it's recruit. If we see the right person, it'll be the right person. We'll know it. I'll know it.
how many applications have you gotten so far?
I have 5 that I would consider qualified, and there's a lot of nonsense you get on the internet as well when you put it out there, but there's 5 that are decent, that are worth talking to, but
How many interviews?
haven't done any interviews. When we started this process, wanted to see through here before and to hire someone in the middle of that would be lunacy, so.
Yeah, and again, I realize the budget that you put forward is, it absorbs that cost, okay?
Yep.
I think philosophically, we should make room for it in the budget more than we have, and I think we
Okay.
cut that paving budget down, we cut whatever it is. I mean, you can think of what some of those costs are. I realize that's another name for saying deferment, right? In other words, the problems that we wouldn't do then next year are still going to be there. But I'm erring on the concept that we have to find the right person, which I am not convinced it's out there. I mean, we don't hire anybody thinking that they might work out. They're either gonna or they're not, or we just don't hire them. Anyway, that's where I'm coming down, only because when I look at it, I see what the need is. Because the need's been falling on mine and a couple of other shoulders to really kind of do it. And I think I was estimating 300 to 500 hours this past year working on this stuff.
bully for me, but it's just what I'm saying is that's the level of effort that we're talking about. And that's just a handful of projects. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Well, Bill, you sent out another email, which unfortunately I did not print out, something about adding 50 to 80,000 for some sort of training thing. Can you explain that? Would it be?
That's gonna be further on in the
Different
agenda,
bucket.
down in the
Oh, it is?
administration
And
department.
it's only 25.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, so that's what you're talking about down under F?
Yeah, when, in Bill's
Different thing.
email, when he was referring to the administration department, that's why I put it under the administration
Oh, okay. I wasn't
department
sure if it was
on the
something that
agenda.
would
Yeah, no,
replace
it's
this or
unrelated to
lieu
this.
of.
So, yeah, so I'm gonna, I agree with some of my colleagues, and most of my colleagues who say that this is perhaps a fantastical combination of skills. But my perspective is that if we don't put it in the budget, we'll never even see what's out there. And I think that given, I've had to stand in line with engineers waiting 6 or 9 months for them to pay attention to engineering problems that I had. And to have an engineer in-house, even if occasionally they go to their peers and say, this is not in my wheelhouse, but I think that that's very valuable. It gets projects going quicker. I don't believe there's any danger of inventing projects for that engineer to work on. But if we find the right person, I think it's money well spent. And if we don't find the right person, if it's in the budget, we undesignated funds or, try it next year.
Yeah, I think, since we seem to be going around, I'll just keep this ball rolling. I think there's a couple concerns going into this. Some of it is that, A, we're gonna add another person to payroll, which is always tough. I do understand that engineering, there is a need for engineering. What that volume is, I'm not 100%, whether it's full-time or not. I know some towns around us have a full-time engineer on staff. Other towns don't have an engineer on staff and also make it work. And they've said that they've, been able to get a whole bunch of plans engineered, but then they don't even have the funding for the projects that they need to do. So that's kind of one hang-up. The other hang-up is it almost seems like we're going into this without enough confidence in the position. If we're starting out saying we're gonna hire an engineer that's gonna save us money, possibly get us more grants, I'm not saying that won't happen, but we didn't plan for that to happen at all. So we're just saying we want to add a position, offset some of that with revenue for wastewater, but we didn't reduce any of the budgeted items, whether it be paving, whether it be some of the other projects, like the sidewalk or whatever else they'd be involved in. Again, I still think there probably is a need for it. It's just, if my view looking at this is, if we're not going into this with a confidence of this position, then we're really just hoping that we add a position and not save money, is my worry. Do I think it's possible that we get an engineer for a higher rate than what we're offering? I think it's possible, but the job description that's listed online is a lot. So even if we can be realistic about a job description of what we think they can do, I don't think there's one person that can do all of that job description out of all the people I've ever met. Just because it is just a lot for any pay. So that's certainly my holdup with it. Might this be a position that we roll in next year with more, I don't want to necessarily say more planning into the position, but if we can do some more analysis on if we're confident we can save money in roads or paving or any sort of ditching design or runoff, or if we can help offset, a sidewalk repair with some of the costs from that, then maybe we can get the position, because it would effectively be saving money. But at this point, I just don't think we're getting ourselves ahead enough. I think we're gonna have to add some money back in for third-party engineering into a different budget line, or into whatever the contractual services budget line is, just because we're inherently gonna need some engineering, I'm sure, instead of wiping that rate out. But I don't think we're there yet, and it's at a savings of possibly, from the numbers you put together, 121. Again, that doesn't include what we'd have to put back into engineering, but theoretically, without what we'd add back into it, if we're saving $121,000 this year, that, you know, in my head, that may be able to make up for areas in other departments where we might need to add some more back into the budget too.
So you're talking about line 3095, which the current year is 65?
Yeah, I don't know as we're gonna need 65, because I think, you know, some of that, like, we were talking to John, some of that 65 was, targeted engineering for projects we knew were coming. I think there's probably some projects that we may know we need engineering for, and maybe we don't, but I would at least budget for some. Maybe not a full 65. Yeah, line 3095. If we look at, you know, 24, 25, I don't know how many projects were in that, but that was 20,000. Year before was 13,000. Year before was 4 for professional services and engineering. Even if we added 20,000 back into it, we don't have to use it, but at least we've budgeted for it, and I think that would be prudent at this time.
I think the biggest thing with adding this position is we're taking our overall municipality budget and we're spending more in wages, benefits. And then when you take on top of that, equipment, buildings, so our taxpayers are getting less services to our town. And that's where I'm not comfortable with it. Like, we're taking, in the last meeting, we were like quick to say, yeah, we'll just take $200 off from pavement. Well, that's less to our taxpayers, so if we could do that so easily, why not just do it and not add employment? And that's my biggest hang-up. Like, I want my town to look better for what we're spending. If we're spending $13, $14 million a year, as long as it looks like that, I'm good. But I don't think we're there. And that's my biggest hang-up, so.
Just so I understand you, the town looks so good, is that looks so good in terms of numbers on paper, or looks so good when you drive down the street? I'm not sure which you're
You
talking.
drive on the
When you
street.
drive on the street.
Yeah, when I go down my road, if I'm spending double my taxes, I should not have a culvert that's sunken. I should not have growth in my street. Like, that's just simple, and that should be townwide. And I know that, like, and that's like, I'm not going West Rock, Port Harbor, I don't care about that part, or Glen Cove. But if we're spending $13 million a year municipality, I'm just rounding even numbers, we should see a $13 million town.
You wanna see more bang for your buck.
Yeah, and I don't think we have the efficiency. And adding an employee, I don't see the efficiency added to that. And that's just, sorry, I wanted to say it last meeting and I didn't, but that's where I'm at. So, I don't see this position solving that problem.
So Mike where's Mike?
Right there.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Get my glasses adjusted. So, you talk about your goals and objectives for the coming year. Large-scale ditching, extensive brush cutting, re-engineering, restructuring of South Street and Porter Street extension, culverts, and so on. Where would you see an engineer working in those areas? You talk, probably the intersection redesign or the culverts?
Yes.
And how many hours would you think, or how much effort do you think they're gonna need?
I'm not sure how long that would take an engineer to design. I mean,
Yeah.
they're gonna have some days.
120,000 worth?
That stuff is not cheap. That stuff does take time, but
Yeah,
Do you need an engineer to do ditching?
no,
Okay.
no. Nor put culverts in.
but,
Nor culverts.
No, that's
Okay.
all in the guys
Engineers
and-
pretty much comes
and
down to
compaction.
bridge, like box culverts or our big projects in the town.
Bridging, if we were rebuilding a road and we were getting into base, they're gonna have their say on, you know, what
Or I
they
would
think the
imagine,
base
like,
or
if we
what
were
the-
taking a round culvert and making it into a box, probably should have some
yeah.
sort of stamp.
the D-
But we would also probably need, with this mindset, this model, we'd need someone else to stamp off on it. If
DEP
we didn't have someone,
and Army Corps are both gonna have
Okay.
the guidelines we've gotta that's, yes.
But that cost might be covered if we put the 65,000 from current year into this year, rather than the 121 or
When you
whatever
get,
it is.
when we're not talking culverts.
No,
the-
no, we're talking about, the intersection's gonna be your biggest thing right now.
Yes, yes.
So
That,
What's intersection?
I don't remember what was estimated, around 27,000 maybe to engineer that intersection.
Yeah, the Porter Street, South Street intersection,
So did we
Water
not,
Street South.
wasn't that in the budget for this current year?
yeah.
It
And
is.
we didn't,
That
did we
money's
not do
there.
that?
That money's there already.
And was that for the stop sign thing?
Yeah, for Porter,
Yeah,
Porter and South?
basically.
south, that
So
intersection.
that's already solved.
Yeah, that's solved.
so we don't foresee much more for projects this coming year where we're gonna need engineering that we haven't.
Well, we're gonna have box culverts, and there's, that's a matter of,
So
something an engineer
box
would
covers
decide.
though, when we do the box covers, and that's a grant, right?
No,
not all of them.
There's
There's
bond.
funding towards some of them. We're working on funding towards more
The
of them.
funding towards them does not include engineering through the state
so
to keep the pass of the
it
endangered.
can, yeah, it can. If we can get grants, often they'll cover a lot of the engineering for it. Right now, that plan right now is related to the bond that passed in November of '24, where we had identified 7 different crossing areas that needed Gurney Street. The whole list is in here. That we have been able to accomplish one of those, which was Robinson Drive, which we already had a head start on. And then this
took it
summer,
out for us.
wait, what's that?
They took it out for
It,
us.
what, awful
Those
nice.
frogs got
Thank
us.
you, Mother Nature, right? And then what's also happened, and this is sort of what some of the issues we're running into, is that a little more than a year ago, we were trying to plan to get work done last summer. Because the idea is, well, geez, we've got the money, voters have approved it, let's roll. And we had some real difficulty in getting the engineering done, the permitting done through Army Corps of Engineers, and then have it come through in time to put it out to bid and then be part of that season. So for those of you who don't know, there's a season between July 15th and the end and September 30 where you can work in the water. If you can't get that project in that time, you're pretty much out of luck. So not only do you have to get the permitting done on time, obviously the contractor has to have enough time to plan their work. And oh, by the way, you have to engineer and then build, cast the actual crossing. And so by the time that process had gotten through permitting and we were ready to go out to bid, it was about this time last year. And so when that went out to bid, none of the contractors were able to get that in. So the crossing that West Street extension, that there's a number of folks who live over there, have been excited, waiting for this to happen. That went out to bid last year, and they said couldn't do the work until '26. So that is the first one that's due to get completed. The second one is on Meadow Street, right, speaking of the diner. That crossing right behind the diner has gone out to bid and has been accepted. And then now the question is, can we get one more? And probably not because of the time, but we have to get through engineering and then we have to get through that permitting process before we're even talking about casting. So there's a delay, and of course, the more we delay, the more the cost just goes up for all of us. And while it's out of the bond, the more we can get out of the bond, the more we can get done. And if we don't have to spend 3.4 million, let's not spend 3.4 million. to
So
that.
with those bonds and with the engineering and the lie bottom
Yeah.
crossings,
Right,
with those 3 samples you just said,
yeah.
do we have to do lie bottom, or can we just go in and do what we've had for a less amount of money and get it done in-house?
So if we could, we would. There is one area where we're working with, Gartley and Dorsey's been working with us on the crossing at Warrenton Street. Mike talked a little bit about that when he was in last week. There's hope of slip lining the inside of that pipe and hoping that the Army Corps of Engineers will approve of that application. To this point, they have not approved of that application, so we're still working on that. But the hope is to try to have that be a project that's done this summer. As you know, Warrenton Street's on this list to be paved this year. So
So but the other three you
Yeah.
just listed, we cannot just redo the way it's been?
No. They-
I tried and tried for Main Street
Yeah.
to have pipes put
Yes.
in there, tried every way possible to upgrade them. Army Corps just said,
So West Street Extension, they will not approve just to redo the way it
no,
is?
no.
In fact, and just to make that seem even worse than it already is, that was a pipe and a culvert that was damaged part of the October 2021 storm. And we pursued that crossing as well as the one up on Scotts Road. We were denied reimbursement in both cases, but both were damaged in the storm. So they remain a high priority, concern for us, and that's why they were on that list and why it was an area we were concerned with. But we really, there's other areas. I mean, Gurney Street's another one, where that pipe is in worse shape than maybe any of them at this point. And so that also needs attention. So you can't, when everything's on fire, you can't put the hose on everything. And we're just doing the best we can with what we've got.
Well, and as you know, John, stormwater management, stream crossings, it's a whole different universe than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. It's just
If it's
not
on that fish travel.
It's not the same
it's
thing, whether
totally-
it's fish or whether it's damage from increased storms, whatever. And, I mean, I understand the sentiment in the room in terms of not wanting to add staff. I get it. I totally understand it. I'm looking at it from a delivery perspective to the town. That's how I view it. If we can't get the delivery that we need, whether this is focused a little bit on roads and stream crossings, but whether it's this building, or the harbor, or the wastewater issues that we talked about with respect to Camden and others, there's a technical deficit that will not be filled with a mythical outside consultant that will come in to our beck and call and say, I need you for 3 hours next Tuesday. Sorry, I'm gonna be in Los Angeles, whatever. I mean, that's what happens. And that's okay if we want to accept that as a town. I personally don't. The 300 or 400 hours, I didn't bill my time, obviously, that I put in, or
Thank you.
Colmar put, well, no worries. You can send me the 100K whenever you're ready. But, point being is that deficit will remain with us, and whatever we take from that. I mean, I respect the decision, I respect the concern, totally. I get it. Are we just gonna make a conscious decision to sort of stick with the as-is gig in terms of saying, well, that's maybe good enough? In some cases, it's not, in other cases, it is, and in some cases, it may take 2 years instead of 6 months. We'll live with it. And I get that. I mean, that's the way the world works.
I think you need to look at this at a real, what you're gonna get. I know you're saying you can do this much, I know some people are saying this much, and I'm not an engineer, I don't know. I heard on the other night's meeting, road preservation, so many year outlook. You can only do so much that you can do on a road. The state's got 350 engineers, whether it be traffic, bridge. Take a ride up 105, 131, 32, see what they look like. They can only preserve them and do so much. You just need to go into this looking with a real perspective on what you're gonna get. That they don't have a magic wand. They gonna give us upgrades. In places, they may have some other opinions. An engineer's span is gonna be open on what he does or doesn't do, or specialties, but you just need to look at it in a reality way.
Well, and I get what you're saying, and I'm not looking at this engineer as someone who does the mathematics and the drawings and sits on AutoCAD all day long. That's just not a functionally useful thing.
Right.
But you can do, aside from the permitting requirements, you do a lot of stuff off the cuff. You just go, that's a better idea.
Definitely, I just
And the two
want
of you
everybody
go,
to be looking at the real picture of what they're
Right.
gonna do, that's all.
Mr. Colmar back here can explain to everybody how long it took to build the Empire State Building, and it's a whole lot less time than it's taken to rebuild the bridge right out here, okay? Yeah. I'm just saying, delivery time, speed, quality, it's gonna stay as is, and we'll just do the best we can.
So what you're saying is part of this position is the fact that we can act more quickly?
Oh, not only quickly, but with higher quality. I'll give you an example, and I'm not, Abby's not online, is she?
No, she's not.
Okay.
She's watching, she's probably listening.
Yeah,
to
she's
you
probably
two.
gonna kill me next time she sees me, but let's just take the new pier that we put in, right? We put that thing in, and what happened within, I don't know, 6 months or whatever, we got a storm, popped
6
it right out of the ground. Okay, because the wave action hit it, and boom, 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 up it came, and we all saw that. Now, the folks that put it in just put it in the way they always put it in, you know, I did it this way, it'd be fine. Well, it wasn't. Okay, that's nobody's fault. I'm not trying to blame somebody. I'm just saying that that lack of ability to say, well, maybe how should we have done this? Or what do you think? What are the potential conditions we need to plan for? That's a intangible. I mean, you can't put that down. And did Proc think that what they were doing was totally normal? Yeah, so they'd always done it that way. It's just not that, you know, things aren't that way anymore. You know, we had State Route 52 collapse on Halloween, and thank God I didn't take that route home from the airport that night, because I was driving at midnight in the rain. Who saw that coming? So it's that kind of thing that I'm getting at. And again, we're Rockport. We've been used to a certain rate and pace and quality and ability to get things done that may take longer, or may not be quite where it needs to be. You know, that's the way it goes. And that's what I'm getting at. It's that ability to look at things and say, here's how this really needs to be done. When we take on the harbor project, that's $10 to $12 million worth of work, paid for by grants, but let's do it right. And so someone looking after that's got to do it right. And, you know, I'm not sure Bob and I are enough. Anyway.
But the price is right, Bill.
Yeah,
Exactly. I would kind of ask like one for John, one for Mike.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm big on supporting local businesses, and we've had like a staple for an engineer in our community
Yep.
with Garland Dorsey.
Yep.
He's a taxpayer for personal and business. And I feel like he's been on a lot of committees too over the past with me, and I've crossed. So when we come across this situation for a project or a road, what's the time? Like, how long are we waiting for him to deliver?
You want me to give you an answer?
No.
Well, I will, because we have a real-world version of that. We put out a request for proposal for design on the harbor. And we just put it out like a month and a half ago. We had two firms bid on it, and we had Gartley send in a comment that basically said, we can't do it for another year.
For another year, okay. So now roads for John and Mike. Because a big chunk of our budget is roads, so.
Sure is, yeah. Mike, go ahead, you start.
I would say it's according to the project, some of the simple projects. Will has come out and looked at them, drives off, there you go, we've solved that problem.
And go
Some
for
of
it.
some of the bigger projects, we do have to get worked into, you know, it takes a little bit of time. We're a good customer, they try to get us in as quick as they can. Is it always as quick as we want? No, because they're servicing a bunch of other people, but
Right.
Will has gone out of his way for us.
Right. This guy come up twice too, because
Okay.
mowing. So,
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying, so.
Yeah, no, and I think, I mean, I'd echo what Mike said. I mean, we had that storm on Halloween where Robinson Drive went, you know, downriver, let's say. Will was there. Bill Lane was there. I think what I would say is I'm looking at what's next, and that's sort of my concern, is that unfortunately, you know, fortunately for Will, he spends a lot of time in Florida now. Good for him. I'm glad he's earned that space in his life, and he's got some good people here, and he does, and I think they do a good job, you know, with what we have. In terms of our turnaround time on some of those projects, like the Culvert projects, it was frustrating that it took us that long to get some of those projects out to bid and through permit. How much was permitting? How much was the actual permit process of putting it together? I can't say who, you know, how much gets thrown at the face of the Army Corps of Engineers, but, you know, it was a lot longer than I would have thought, given how long we sat down and talked about the priorities. And, you know, this is January, not even January, I think it was November after the bond passed. And the fact we weren't able to get a project out that next summer felt like a miss for me. So I don't, look, I don't want to throw stones at any Rockport business or Cannon business. I'm not sure where the line goes through where he's at. And Will's done great. The employees who've done there have done great work for us. This isn't necessarily about that as much. It is, there are projects that aren't even crossing their desk that are task forced, or, you know, we've hired other firms, Sewell, to handle the VPI project out here. Could that have cost us less, even though it was a grant? Could it have cost us less? Could we had a better project in the end that would have better aligned with the town's priorities? We're talking, you know, about this crosswalk, and the VPI study had a different approach to how to handle that crosswalk than what we're approached with now. And there's a lot of how would that have worked differently if we were better prepared for that process. I just see a lot of these issues that we sort of come back to in trying to take holistic approaches, and that wouldn't be something necessarily we would have run forward Gartley and Dorsey. This project that Bill's talking about is a little bit different, whereas it was sort of a bigger chunk, you know, $500,000 project that they were sort of jumping into. So I hope it partly answers your question. It's not everything, but I think it's a little of this and a little of that from my perspective.
I would say with dealing, like I said, there's such a broad span of what, you know, civil engineers are gonna do. There's gonna be some things that he's gonna get done real quick, and there's gonna be other things that's like, yeah, I've not dealt with that, and it's gonna take me time to dig into it. So I think there's a give and take. It's not gonna be perfect. In some ways, it's gonna help us sooner. In some ways, it's gonna take the same amount of time, or maybe a little longer. I don't, just, that's what I see from dealing with them.
Would something like this work as efficiently or possibly as having somebody on a retainer or a part-time position?
I would say that would be something we'd have to sit down and negotiate. But could it be a possibility? Is it a place to look at? I would say yes.
It's a halfway step. What we haven't explored is the difference between what we're doing now and this.
Right.
And we're being given a black and white solution here. It's a this, or we don't do the things that need doing. And I'm finding myself in agreement with both bills on this. Clearly, there's a need there. I can't support adding headcount to the budget. I think some type of retainer structure is something the select board should probably look at. And I just don't, I mean, honestly, I just don't think this is ready for prime time yet. I don't think it's had enough thought. We've been talking about engineering skill. This has 60 to 70% of this job is assuming personnel and financial management responsibility for public works, buildings, grounds, and wastewater. So it's mostly a management job, not an engineering and technical skill job. So if that's, and it just feels like we're trying to solve, we've got a management problems we're trying to solve, we've got project management problems we're trying to solve, we've got engineering technical lacks that we need that we're trying to solve. It just doesn't feel like we've lined up, okay, what are the problems we need to solve and what are the solutions to solving them? And maybe it's not all in one place. I mean, we will talk about how we build better performance management structures and things like that in the town. This doesn't feel like the right solution to this set of things that we're trying to solve. I just don't think it's ready. And I think a middle ground may be, can we find somebody around here who's got some version of this technical skill? Maybe it's not the management thing. Maybe that gets dumped in favor of the technical skill piece. So we're not relying on Bill and people to do that. And we can grab somebody, like, we need you 2 days a week, or we're gonna need you, 3 days over 2 weeks, and it's this and this. We just need an extra set of eyes. We need somebody. There's gotta be somebody in this town or around here we could bring on board, test it out for a year, and John, if it works, you come back and say, look, we tested it, we've got a person, we think, hey, it saved money, it did this, you have some hard data to give us, and then we can talk about it next year. I just don't think I'm ready for this now.
Yeah, you might be able to get, as Bill said, somebody who's nearing retirement or wants something low stress for a part-time position. This is just the engineering stuff.
Got just the man right there.
Steve,
We got the best.
How do you envision making a motion, or, I mean, because at some point here in the next couple hours, we gotta at least decide on this, and the next thing that comes along,
The clock's on behind me. I'm not even,
I-
I don't even know.
There's no clock back
put
there.
that monitor in the wrong place. Given that we could refer to this, and given that we can refer to status quo, how would you make a motion? What would that motion look like? And do you want to offer it up?
Well, I don't know how to word it, that it's not quite ready. I think the recommendation would be for the select board to take another couple of spins at this, to understand that we're not gonna support it in the budget. Or maybe we can put money in
As
towards
is.
it and just say, here's a chunk, and go figure out a way to solve what is stack the problems we're trying to solve here, because they're not all equally. I'm listening to what Bill's telling us about the technical, that seems like the big need that we have. That's a small part of what this would do if I'm reading this right. So I think this needs to be reworked. I think we need to focus on the main thing that's the main need we have that would generate the savings we've been talking about, and get the select board to sort of work with John to rebuild this into something that could be a contract position and put it out there. If nobody nibbles on it, then we'll know we're gonna have to get a full-time position for it.
Well, half
But-
of this, you say 30 to 40% is the engineering part,
Yeah. Right.
which would be, if 120 is about the 65,000 we already had in the budget. So if we put that 65,000 back in and work to do, craft a
Yep.
part-time or retainer type thing.
Yep.
But I think the technical part isn't this year, is it? We're trying to get ahead of the technical part for the sewer wastewater. Primarily it's sewer wastewater, right?
There's yeah, but I wouldn't say it's delayed. We're not, you know, this isn't, I wouldn't say that, go ahead, finish your thought and then I'll stop talking.
So, all right, so
Sorry,
I'm kind
Craig.
of going
Fire
with
away.
Steve's talk, and like I'm going
Yeah.
a little bit above what Steve. I'm like, I don't think technically, engineer-wise, we need this position the next 12 months. So I would kind of go of not doing a proportion. I would just say,
Yeah.
wait
Okay.
another year. I don't think. I mean, when's
Yeah,
our
pay for
contract
the
up with Camden for sewer wastewater?
3 more years.
I said, I don't want to wait. I just want to cut it and revisit next year.
Yeah, that was my question. I'm glad I haven't said anything, because lots of you have said it better than I would have. I think, is engineering going to be this year? We have 65 budgeted. Is it going to be close to that?
No, we won't probably spend all of that 65 this year. One of the projects, so there were 2 projects that were in last year's budget. One was the Porter Street, South Street intersection. The second was the South Street Route 1 intersection. That's become a bigger concern a bigger concern in that it's not gonna fit within that budget. So really, we're trying to get that South Street project completed, South Street, Porter Street project completed, and then, yeah, so that's the end of what I anticipate using those funds for this year.
Yeah, because looking at the historicals for that line, and I know things go in other buckets sometimes, but it's more like 12,000, 13,000 on average a year.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we need to put a full 65 back in unless we have things lined up ready for that engineering. If we're going to remove this, I mean, my thoughts overall, I think this is a sort of a simple math equation with some not very simple inputs to it. We know how much the position costs. What we don't know is what we get out of it, and I think it only makes sense for the town if it saves money in one way or another. I think most of these things ultimately come back to saving money in the long run. I certainly appreciate the better delivery. I think there's nice things about better reporting lines for you, and certainly good things about it. But I think Steve's exactly right. It does seem like we're trying to solve a lot of things. I said initially, it seems like it could be a bit of a chimera. So it sounds like we're looking for the one thing that's going to solve all these problems, which is a bit of a red flag. Yeah, I don't know, without, this, we have the 40K, sort of, it says in here, saving somewhere around there, that obviously doesn't make the math work, so I assume there's, intention to save more money than the 40K, and I can believe it. If you can take $10,000 out of the paving budget, that covers, this person's compensation. But, without, it's pretty hard to sort of validate that assumption, right now without seeing a clearer path. And I mentioned performance metrics. I was telling somebody that, in my industry, in tech, it's pretty common to put like the KPIs that a role will actually be measured against in the job description. And that way everybody has clarity up front, which, doesn't need to be exactly that, but I would, we're going to talk later about performance metrics. I think it would be helpful and beneficial to see how that plays out if we get there, and see, how can this prospective role, if we come back at it next year, can we actually put some numbers on what are we expecting this person to achieve? So that, again, we don't, of course, we can fire them in a year, but I just think most likely we find somebody that everybody likes being around in the office, is generally helpful, but it's, not, but it's hard to prove that they're actually, saving money for the town.
Is the
Well, then I'll make a motion that we reject the position as currently funded with another one to come.
Well, just a quick question, though, just if you don't mind, is the 65 out right now?
Yeah,
Okay, so it's not in.
there's nothing in the budget for engineering.
So
next
should
year.
the motion include the
Well, I was gonna
position
make
out and the money in?
Right, yeah. So the first motion is to reject the Public Services Director position, remove all that money from the budget. I need a second.
I'll second that.
And
And I think a second
Freeman will
motion is gonna
second the
come in,
motion.
separate motion for that?
just because it's gonna end up, I think, with a little more clarity on a vote,
Okay,
so you're not trying to
fair enough.
do both at once.
Oh.
So we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion, any more discussion on the motion?
Where's the revenue come from again? We're offsetting this with something from
Wastewater.
wastewater. Where's that? What page?
Line,
R0905.
Says wait, it says WW wage for benefits.
What page?
163,
163?
R0905. It's the third one down. So 80,945.
So that would come off this year's budget.
that
Am I
revenue
reading
would
that
come
right?
off.
So everything, do you have this that I handed out at the first of the meeting? If you look at the,
Helen stole it from me, sorry. No, I'm
if
just
you
kidding.
look at the last page, the one with the picture on it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's pretty.
Okay.
Pictures are what do it for us here.
All of that stuff would have to come out if the position is removed.
So 121,000 would come off this year's budget if
Right.
we made this motion.
It's
Is
the,
that,
it's the net impact, so you'd remove all those expenses and then you'd remove the 80,000 revenue.
Right.
So it has a net impact of 121,000.
and then would we also file a motion if we just talked about engineer expense? But John did say that one of them's gonna go more. You
I,
said Porter.
yeah, I would
is-
still leave that as a separate
Yeah,
motion.
you wanna keep
That's
I
a
think we
separate,
work through this
right?
motion
Yeah.
first,
Yeah.
Yeah.
vote on this, then
Alright,
step on to if we're gonna add anything into engineering.
yeah. So that would be a separate one. Alright. So if we made this motion and we voted in favor of it, we would be taking 121 and change off from the proposed budget.
Correct.
We're recommending to the select board that that's what they. put in the
Recommend,
budget.
right.
Right.
We're not doing anything. We're just advising.
We're speaking with soft tones.
They're really big sticks,
Always.
the big culverts.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion? Okay, let's take a vote. All those in favor? All those against? Bill, I didn't see your vote. You still on, Bill?
Do you see my hand?
Oh, yeah, I got
Do
you
you see my
now.
hand?
Which one was
I
that
can hear
one?
you now.
Is that yay or nay?
Okay,
was the
I'm,
hands
I'm in
up,
favor of the
thumbs up.
motion.
Okay,
In
so I've
favor.
got
Thanks,
1,
Bill.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor.
Because he's remote, I think we have to do, I think state law says everybody has to do an aye or an A, verbally.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah,
If
but that adds 12 seconds to what's taking us 52 minutes.
If he was
Oh,
doing-
you-
Do I have,
we're gonna
do I have
get
to send a
individual
blood,
round.
blood sample, Jeff, or what does you need?
That allows Bill to be
Here, who
equal
voted
footing.
which way.
Can we just have him live on the camera or no? That doesn't work.
No,
That doesn't, yeah.
That's fine, we'll just do it. We would've
Okay,
been done
Bill, what
already.
was your vote? Yes or no? Yes, you support removing?
I am in favor of the motion. I'll send you my blood sample later.
And last four of your social,
Forms of
please, sir.
ID. Yeah.
8293.
Nay, nay against it.
Yeah,
that was in the hand over there, right?
you gotta say it.
Yay.
Yay.
Is that
Yay.
yay?
Yes, yeah.
Yay.
Aye.
Okay. Aye.
Patch for that.
The ayes have it.
The ayes have it. That's right.
You said yeah.
So did I hear another motion for adding some for engineering back into?
Yes, I make a motion that we add 65,000 to line 3095, which is the professional. With the understanding that over the coming year, we will look more into how to resolve this problem permanently.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. The motion was to
I have
add.
I have a question. I thought earlier that John said we did not have any engineering projects this coming year.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't have any projects that were, the 65,000 that we budgeted for last year were two specific items. We did not identify engineering as part of those as the projects in our road list on page 169. None of that called for any additional engineering. However, there is engineering that we're incurring through all of these stream crossings that we're pursuing through the bond. So that's sort of where, as well as through the wastewater budget. So I realize that's not on what we're talking about here, but if we're talking about taxpayer money or town money in some capacity, there is an impact.
But isn't
I
that
think-
engineering,
Yeah, to
John,
your
isn't the engineering cost included in the bond on the work you're referring to?
we budgeted based upon the cost of construction, and had some estimates of engineering. They've been all over the map, to be honest with you, Bill. But I would say this I think you might be going, and stop me if I'm wrong. The projects that we have in this budget, in terms of, there is no direct line to the engineering of the line. That's why we didn't identify anything as savings direct to this department or this position, and we didn't put money into this area. Now, there's another question, which is, do you wish to pursue a basis of trying to create a retainer? That was discussed by others. That's a different conversation, and so the thinking of what's in this budget, Bill, is not of that thinking. Not saying it's a bad idea, I'm just saying that wasn't the thought process going into where we were here, that's all.
Yeah, but my understanding was that $65,000 we were taking from engineering because we had no projects. It was gonna go to pay for this new position, is what I thought you were talking about.
Yeah, no, I would say that's absolutely true, yeah.
Okay, so why are we putting $65,000 back in the budget for engineering now? That's my question.
Because we might need it.
My follow-up on Bill's question would be, we don't have any projects right now, we need engineering. But worst case scenario, if we wanted to put something in there, it doesn't need to be 65, but something,
right.
for worst case.
Right.
If we didn't spend that money, where would that money go?
It'd come out of road construction.
I mean, if we put something in there,
Yeah, yes.
and we put something and you didn't utilize it,
Yeah,
where
that would go to
where
fund
would it go?
balance. Sorry, it would end up in the fund balance.
So
Or it could
in
go
my,
to reserve.
Or it could, yeah, it could go to
reserve.
road
So in
reserve.
my opinion, I think leaving zero there, based on the track record of, 4,000, 14,000, 20,000, I'm just using round numbers.
Yeah.
If we removed, or we're proposing removing a position, we need to put something there. So, I mean, my thought process is instantly goes to $15,000, just because we don't know when something might happen.
So Helen's motion wasn't seconded. so
Yeah,
it
no,
should be
I
amended.
seconded it, but I can retract.
Yeah, but technically, we need to vote on it, in which case, it sounds like we want to vote it down, and then we introduce a second amendment. Second
Or you just
motion.
retract the motion, which is second to the
Yeah,
first one.
that's the sloppy way of doing it. Sorry, I've written too
Well,
many
that's the last thing we
bylaws
want
and
around here, is the sloppy way of doing it.
Not a sloppy place.
This is our town, we
Okay,
want it
so
to
any
look
other
good, we don't want
discussion
any
on
sloppiness.
Helen's motion of adding 65,000 into, line item 3095,
395, yep.
professional services? Any other discussion on that, at 65,000? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor? I
You
think,
have to
actually, we
vote.
gotta go around.
Yeah.
Bill, give me a yay or nay, aye or? Nay, what is it?
Hey,
Aye?
nay, I'm against.
Aye.
That's a no.
Jeff,
I'll go nay.
Bill,
Nay.
Nay.
No,
No.
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 okay,
Okay.
now, make your motion.
All
I'd
right,
like to file a motion to put in line item 3095, the amount of $15,000.
I'll second.
I wonder if we can arrive at a number without making a motion for every incremental thousand we want to
Yeah.
add.
Thank you.
Is that doable?
Yeah,
That would be wonderful.
Um,
I'm trying to keep it.
so my,
The smoke is coming up with fingertips right now, so thank you, Walker. Going to workers' comp claim, oh my gosh.
do we have a sense of like general hourly rates for like road engineering work or today?
Usually,
Like 100? And,
yeah, usually it ends up being 10% of the project usually.
right.
Yeah, hourly rates are gonna, you know, for a newbie right out of college, it's $120 an hour. If you're gonna come out with somebody with 10 years of experience, you're gonna be paying 200 unless you're Lockheed Martin and Exxon, in which case you're gonna wanna pay 5.
Right.
It's all over the map.
Sure.
Okay? I would say that, like I said, if you just valued the work that, say, Bob and I have been doing, that I would dearly love to maybe lessen, that's somewhere around $125,000 that you would have had to pay to get someone to do, okay? Now, we're not talking about road engineering there. We're just talking about the wastewater stuff, we're talking about the harbor stuff. Somebody's gonna have to look at this building, because we're gonna make a $2 million decision on whether to rehab it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's not like we have no hard engineering projects. You can talk about that, but that's not the use of this person. So, you know, putting in a 50K placeholder for me is you know, it's probably not enough for me to retire. But it's at least a start.
Right, okay, thank you. That's what I was trying to figure. I'm interested in this retainer idea or something, because I agree, it'd be nice to have the expertise on hand. So I am trying to figure out what would a sensible figure be for a retainer. My math is very rough, but if you had somebody one day a week, say, and I don't know if that's even sufficient for a retainer or not, but, and you paid them 150 hours, that's $55,000. So, and maybe the 65 isn't so far off. If we want to experiment with that, maybe we start it halfway through the year and cut it in half. That sounds a little more appetizing.
Where are we at right now, year to date on that number? Because last year, we budgeted 65, and we're at like
well,
12,
I think
25.
my only worry on that is we're going with a different process of, if we're talking about a retainer and whatnot, we'll be talking about a different process of spending the money than that 65,000 we budgeted for last year, because there was two specific projects we basically budgeted that for. So I don't know if that will
I see what you
necessarily
mean.
correlate
Yeah,
to
yeah,
what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I see.
I mean, I'm kind of with Walker a little bit here. We take a little bit of a stab in the dark on that, and at least leave enough money on the table, even if we did a half a year, start at calendar year, try that out, and then, although that probably would not give us enough time for next budget cycle to make an affirmative decision.
Clay, just to comment, understand where you're going on this, but we're talking about 15,000, I guess, this year. I would support something like $25,000 just to have it there in case we need special engineering needs, but if you're going up to 50, say you're
Yeah.
back up to 65,000, so.
25 was
That's my
where
feeling.
I was comfortable with, or at least had in my head, which,
So we have a motion
Not
and a
saying
second
much.
right now? Is that true?
No,
We
we
have-
don't have anything.
Nothing's on the table.
Oh, okay.
okay.
I hiccuped. Don't worry about it. That was a hiccup.
That was a sloppy hiccup. All right, so do we have any more motions on the table now, or do I hear any motions?
Well, I'll move that we put, I'm sorry, your
25,000 was already.
$25,000 into the line 306.
95.
3095.
Second there.
Also, you,
Yeah, Walker second that.
I'm gonna add in the public works budget.
Thank you, in the public works budget.
Okay, any
You
other
can splice
discussion on
that
that?
on
Okay, let's go to vote. Bill, how do you vote?
I vote yay.
Jeff?
Yay? Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passes. All right. So moving on, down our agenda now that we're there.
We're on a roll.
Moving on, the next item on the agenda under Public Works is the Central Street raised crosswalk. A little bit of information that we got, provided to us today was an image, I'm assuming that will come up here at some point once Megan's done burning the keyboard down, of at least the
I
aerial.
just thought we're moving on to the crosswalk.
Is, the image that's gonna come up is of painting that can be done on the crosswalk and, safety areas either side of the crosswalk, along with, some, I don't know what you'd call those, indicator lines leading up to the crosswalk. Right now, in the budget was, let me get my, exact number.
I think it's 25,000, I
20
think.
It was part of that 70, right, for under line 7615? So,
It should have been.
or is that separate?
That should have been listed out as separate. Should be 25,000.
It is in that 70,000.
I think it's in that 70, isn't it?
Yeah.
7615.
Yeah, the other 40 was for the sidewalk.
Yeah, on Russell Ave, okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we want to talk about both projects at once, or if we want to talk about one project, or.
However you want to
go
do
about
it, I can run through this raised or painted one real quick if you want.
Okay, yeah, give us a
So-
quick hot
So-
shot once over.
Seeing that you wanted to talk about it, looked at it, we talked about raising, which I was not a fan of, but it was talked about that people would like to see that. So we tried to look at accomplishing the same thing with less money, less impact, less plowing problems.
So by the same thing, you mean the same safety?
The
level
same
of
safety.
Increased safety.
And keeping the safety in mind, trying to cut the cost, and trying not to create a plowing problem. So, as much as I don't want to lose spaces with this drawing that's here, that's moving the cars back 15 feet from the crosswalk. Painting this crosswalk with the white lines, possibly putting a base in the center of whatever color everybody decided, a green or a red or something that's bright. Then hash marking these 15 feet on each corner. So it's visible. You'll be able to see the pedestrians as you approach. Buying some signs, we actually may have some signs at the shop, but putting some signage where the yellow is hash marks out of the side of the road versus have something that's gonna get hit every 5 minutes on the center line. Painting this up, putting the triangles, this is something I met with Andrew today. We done it real quick. They've been using some arrows before you get to the crosswalk to see it. So this drawing, you're looking at $3,500.
And that's for the labor, paint.
That's
all
subbing it out. I talked to the contractor that would paint it today. I would sub this particular thing out, because us trying to do this with all these colors during the day, somebody's gonna get run over. So he would do it probably at night as safer.
Sure. What is the expected lifespan of that, paint? Or
That is,
epoxy or whatever you call
that
it?
will probably have to be painted annually to stay bright with the amount of traffic. The yellow you may get a couple of years out of. I guess we would have to take a look at that and
But
see.
you could make it through the proposed busy season.
I think we could make it through. If we needed to upgrade like the white, I think we could, where the white lines are now. This is showing purple here, but those aren't true. That's not a true color of what that crosswalk would be.
so what was your estimate again?
3,500 to
35.
paint this, yep.
Yeah, I was just.
And once it was there, we could do some maintenance to it in-house.
You find it? Yeah.
And while you're putting yellow lines on no parking spaces, could you please do that on Pascal? Before somebody gets hit and killed?
Right.
Thank you.
Clay, can I make a motion?
Yes, of course.
I move that we remove the $25,000 in the budget currently for the raised crosswalk, replace it with an expensive, I think he said $3,600 to do the painting, or an adequate, again, alert system at that crosswalk.
Yeah,
Okay, so there's the motion. I'll second that. Any other discussion on that? Let's go to discussion on the raised crosswalk or paint.
So what did he say? He's gonna take out the 25 and put in,
So I presume that the 25 is gonna come out of line 7615,
right,
the 70,000, and then my assumption is we would put into line 5380, street signs and traffic paint, the cost of
it was 3,500.
$3,500. So we'll increase from 10,000 to 13,500 under line 5380.
Just,
I'll second that if somebody hasn't already
I could already,
played
The
it.
chairman did.
Oh,
Okay, any other discussion?
if I could just quickly, this issue, just to talk about how this came about. This came about from a number of residents who are using that crosswalk in the wintertime. Now, this is a crosswalk that's currently painted in May.
It is invisible.
And, right, and by the time we get to fill in the blank December, January, because of that traffic, it's next to impossible to see. So, you know, I'm not speaking against the motion, I'm just, this is neither for nor against, right? That, or maybe it's a for, I'm just saying, I think we're gonna see how it goes, but I would expect we're gonna have to paint again in the fall, just to make sure. It may be one of these things that we have to,
I would
just keep
agree,
an eye on.
I would agree with that. We'll have some maintenance that we can do in-house once the layout is there.
yeah.
Can that maintenance be absorbed in our general maintenance fund?
Yeah, we
Do it
have,
in the
Yeah.
fall,
we have paint,
just to keep it fresh?
yes.
I think it's just something to keep in mind, that's all.
Maintenance nightmare.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever.
And
Just
just a
another one.
quick logistics question, are we waiting until July 1st to do this?
I don't think we necessarily have to do that. I'd like to think we could do it.
Not a statement.
The real purpose behind this is, it's the 25,000 or whatever it is, this is a request, right? And this was a year when we've all talked about how we're trying to hold the line. And when we choose to not hold the line or whatever that may be, this is the time to have that conversation. A better result came out of it at the end, I think, for mostly, well, people's perspective. And now, you know, we can move forward, and $3,500 is something we can probably absorb between now and July.
That's my snarky way of asking, can we get this done as soon as it makes sense? 'Cause
It didn't have to be snarky, Bill.
It's a safety issue,
It
right?
is a safety issue, yes, it is.
34 degrees to do it.
Right, yeah, it's gotta be warm enough, but, right.
Okay, any other discussion on,
Yeah, I
The
mean,
motion.
I obviously love the raised crosswalk idea, but it's not a raised crosswalk to die on, I suppose you might say, but, if you'll forgive me. Is there, you know, we cross this all the time, and the number of times we have false starts, you know, sort of inching out across the, in front of the cars and jumping back, well, somebody
give a
comes
good
barreling
strong
down the hill.
steer.
Is, yeah, so I think removing the cars is, I mean, either way is a fantastic thing. It remains to be seen how well people obey yellow paint, but, it's better than nothing. Is there any thicker paint, like, is there more durable paint out there or anything that, because,
We've tried it all, and
sure,
it's,
yeah,
it's just a lot of traffic there.
yeah, sure. Yeah, because I was noticing walking down the hill today, I was like, "Oh, I can't even see it's there, it's so covered in dust and whatnot, but,
I mean, yeah, sorry, not to cut
so I think that this is, you know, with my budget committee hat on it, you know, I like the savings here, and it seems like a good place to start anyway. So thank you.
And one thing to keep in mind, and I know you're aware of this, Walker, but some here may not be, the bridge that is due to be designed and built by Maine DOT will have sidewalks on both sides. So that somewhat changes the walking pattern of all of us for however many years, that, you know. So that, who knows what that does, and maybe hopefully it avoids people from having to start quick or whatever, you know. But that's something to keep in mind and something we'll have to deal with down the road.
I just don't wanna jump off into a raised crosswalk when we're next to a town that just removed the majority of theirs.
That's right. There you go.
I wouldn't put yourself off the idea
I believe in
indefinitely, Clay.
safety though,
There's
because
good
safety
arguments
is
for it.
no accident, but.
Too early to
There
start.
you go.
Good. So,
You've been reading that short book with all the.
let's have a vote on the motion. Bill, how do you, Bill F?
I vote yay, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yay.
Yes.
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 Yes. Did you say nay or yay?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
That was yay.
Wait, did you just vote for a sidewalk project, Clay?
Yeah, you
No,
did.
no. This is a
He just voted for
crosswalk.
paint, that's all he voted for.
No,
Did
this is,
everyone just?
no, this is perpendicular
Sorry,
to
buddy.
a
I'm
sidewalk.
sorry, I had to do it.
He wants a sidewalk from
Perpendicular.
Rockport Diner to his house.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I had to do it. I mean,
Speaking of sidewalks, moving along to the Russell Ave sidewalk.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So this sidewalk, that's also part of line 7615 on Russell Ave. The money budgeted for this, I believe, is $45,000 to repair the sidewalk, at least the majority of the corner. And
Basically from Mechanic Street, just past Winter Street on that corner of,
You're not gonna
Russell.
take it all the way up to where the new one starts, which is just past that driveway?
just this corner at this, on this piece.
Okay, so not up to the driveway.
Well, the driveway that the farm owns, the house
Yeah.
that up in, right
Right.
to there, yes.
And
Which-
then just beyond that, up the second driveway is the new sidewalk that was put in about 10, 12 years ago?
Yeah. This is to the first driveway,
Okay.
this section.
So we're hitting the farm up to do this between the side.
We haven't, but
yeah, I mean, I think my hesitation on this at least is 2 years ago, when I tried to cut the sidewalk going from Summer Street to the town office, and said that we already can't maintain our sidewalks, so we shouldn't put any more in. And I was told, what sidewalks are a problem? And then 2 years later, now we've got a sidewalk that's all of a sudden a problem.
We were promised that about 20 years ago.
I agree. And we have continued to not maintain them, so I'm not sure that just starting on the corner of this is gonna be the start to it.
Well, that wouldn't be the worst thing.
Right now, it's almost like there's nothing there. I mean, you're walking on a thing that's narrower than
It's
this.
pretty bad. I'd challenge you
is there
to walk it
room
with a
to-
stroller.
To cut it back, to make it ADA compliant? Do we
I'm not
have-
sure, I wouldn't go as far as we can make it ADA, but we could make it better than it is. It's
That's
pretty
what-
narrow.
are we-
There is some room there. And with this, we would try to get a crosswalk in along Mechanic Street as well. That's something that's been asked for a while, so.
Excellent.
So
Mike,
that-
Bill Freeman, aren't you right up against the stone wall on that?
Yes, yes.
Right.
The road slightly, what we take up on the left side for the sidewalk, the road would creep a little bit. We have enough right of way when that does get paved to move that a few inches and gain some back. The width that's there, I think we could make it, like I say, I'm not sure would make ADA happy, but we could make it way safer and better than it is now.
Is that road
And
getting
the
paved
cur-
in this budget cycle?
The curb
Next-
itself would
next
be
budget cycle,
asphalt?
that one. Yes. The price that's
Is that-
here is asphalt. It's, I think,
Yeah.
3 times as much to do granite and cement.
As much as I hate to say it, it'll last for a year and a half if it's an asphalt. With the way the plows come around there's no way that just won't get chopped up the first year.
But this is cement right now.
No, it's asphalt now.
This is asphalt right now.
Yeah.
And
The,
it's getting-
the alternative, it's about the same price to run a concrete curb.
But the road's getting done not this year,
Not
but next year.
It would be a next year's budget.
I mean, quick question, if we did it next year and did the road and the sidewalk at the same time, doing them both at the same time, would that be a cost savings? In your I mean, I know you can't speak for the contractor, but in general,
There may be some small, patching that we would do now that we wouldn't do. What wouldn't be huge, no. It wouldn't be a huge
savings,
difference,
okay.
no.
So I'm gonna make a motion to cut that 45,000 from line item 7615.
Second.
The only comment I wanna make before we vote on it,
Yeah,
though,
discussion.
is,
Let it rip, bud.
is the fact that, like, the biggest thing when we add things to our budget, I feel like we have to maintain what we add. So if we have something, we should maintain it for safety.
Yeah, I mean, technically, yes.
And
this is
that's my
maintaining it,
only
but-
holdup on this one.
Yeah,
So if I knew we were putting it off till next year because we were gonna address it then, I'd be fine with it. But if we did something and made a sidewalk and just to ignore it, I don't think it's appropriate. So that's my
I
only.
think that would be a great plan, is to address it at the time of
Of
redoing
paving the road. Like,
Yeah.
I find it hard, I mean, if I go into a job site and I'm doing 2 projects, and I'm doing 2 at once, it's gonna be a lot cheaper than
I
doing
mean, I'm
one at a time.
assuming there's also gonna be some drainage that we come across there that we may wanna modify that may impact the sidewalk.
It shouldn't be on that side. There is some drainage on that street that we are gonna be doing work on, but I think either way, we can do it.
So right
With-
now
with the paved road.
Is that grant, just a ledge that comes down? Because right now it's
Yes.
so overgrown, you can't tell
It's all ledge.
how far back. So you really have to blast it if you really wanted to
Well,
make.
we'll bring it, like I said, we'll bring it out some to make it safer and then scoot the road a little bit to the right side when it gets paved. We'll have to do some prep work on that right side for a base, but we can slide that over
Right
some.
side as you're coming out.
Because if we get into that whole ledge that's around the corner, that's gonna be way more expensive.
But even just get out there with a weed whacker, for God's sake. It's-
We can do that.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's gonna be, Russell, that corner's gonna be paved in fiscal '28, the next.
Next paving budget.
Yeah, I think it does make sense to do it with that. My question is, I think the asphalt curb is not nearly as valuable as a granite one, because granite curbs scare drivers a little bit more.
Granite curb definitely holds up. We have been using concrete in places.
Right.
That corner is pretty vulnerable. With that being said, you can look at the paved one that's there now, and it's still there, as it got some marks in it. Yep.
Sort of a ramp.
But you're looking at, I don't have my sheet, but it's, you're looking at like, whatever that number is, $65 a foot versus 280 or 70 for granite.
And that's granite and concrete?
Granite concrete for the.
And is that would you ever do granite and asphalt, or is that
You
not?
can, yes.
Would
That's
that-
a way to meet in the middle.
Would it save money?
Yep.
I guess and it would last longer, right?
It definitely would hold up better.
Yeah. How about concrete versus asphalt for the surface? Is that like in terms of longevity?
Mr. Chair, can we let Mike do the Mike thing and just vote on this and move to the next thing? I'm sorry, we're just.
No, I'm not just asking for fun, Jeff.
No, I'm sure you're not.
My question is, would it make sense to put some into a reserve so that we can afford to do it the right way, I would say?
It wouldn't hurt.
I
That'd be up to
apologize, I
you to
haven't
put
had dinner yet,
your amount,
sorry.
but yeah, the more expensive is gonna hold up better. And it is gonna go along with what's in the village.
Right. I would definitely be in favor of that. I mean, I agree it doesn't make sense to do it this year, but is it, like, I mean, it's twice as much to do granite or more, 3?
Like 3 times.
Yeah, but it is a.
Is there a motion on the table at the moment?
There is.
Yes.
Yes, the motion is to remove it completely.
Who said that?
Bill.
And it's been seconded?
Yes, sir. So this is
you.
the discussion portion, and we're gonna vote on it. Any other discussion before we vote? Okay, Bill, you wanna start us off again on the vote? Bill Freeman.
And again, the motion is to take it out of the budget, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I'm going in favor of it, but I'll tell you, I will support it for next year, doing it the right way when we do the road, and that's the reason I'm voting it on approval of this motion this year.
Heard loud and clear. Jeff? Yeah?
Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to say something. Yes.
Bill's a yes.
I'm with Bill.
Yes.
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 I'm with Bill, yes.
Yes.
And no offense meant to Walker Road, it's
No.
just lapsing.
But I will say it is helpful to hear about what the budget committee's expectations are, because we've talked about that, what type of materials, and I know we're down that road, and, but it's a helpful conversation, so appreciative.
Is there any value or interest in putting it into a reserve, or is it better just to hit it, swallow it next year?
Next year.
Yeah,
kick it.
I think we
Kick it
can do
down
it
the
next
road.
year,
Kick it
but,
down the
but
road.
I
Perfect.
think,
I mean, I think we can roll it into the project for Russell Ave
Yeah.
Right,
somewhere
sure,
next year,
right.
so it's not gonna be a solid line
Yeah.
item necessarily.
but knowing to hit what the target is that we wanna hit is, and the longevity is an important piece that this group is values, so that's important, so. We'll probably still have options, I would expect next year, so you can,
Yeah.
little from this column, little from that column, but it's, anyway. Usually, this year, I would've said all asphalt and, maybe dirt.
Okay, moving on, the one addition we had from agenda considerations is capital improvements under the Public Works Department. I'll let you take the call on this one, Craig, if you want to lead us off.
Yeah, so my biggest question for you, Mike, was when I was looking at capital improvement plan between this year and what was forecasted and what we got in front of us this year. So this year we have an excavator and a loader.
Right.
Capital improvement plan, we had to excavate. I ran out of posters. So I called John Beeman, but he didn't give me a. So we had a excavator, 550, and a Western Star wheeler. Then it went back to a loader and an excavator.
So kicking those trucks out to 6 and 12 years changed that whole.
Change that. So my question is with the loader, like I'm all about trying to reduce this budget as much as
Yeah,
possible.
no, I get it.
So what would your argument on being on kicking off the loader till next year, like we had on this plan?
I've sat down with the guys and, they where we're at, there's some issues with the loader with some leaking. Can we take care of that in maintenance? We can. The hood's rusting out. Can we get by with another year before it falls off? We can. So I guess I wouldn't die for the fight saying, I gotta have both of these or we're gonna be in trouble. Out of the two pieces of machinery, I would kick
Excavator's more
that,
important, right?
kick that bucket,
Yeah.
front end loader down the road before I did the excavator. The excavator, I would,
And I think you said before, the excavator, you were sending one off to auction most likely. And
Yes.
you had a
Yes.
couple other things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just when I look at the org chart and the amount of steel we have, for me personally, I'd rather just add one piece of equipment, in my opinion. And that's just where I want to add it in.
if we were gonna sit here and argue all night, I would meet you right
don't
there
wanna
and
argue
say,
all night.
no.
I'm tired.
I would meet you there and say, if you wanna cut one of the two,
It would be the
it would be
loader.
the backhoe.
I mean, I guess a good way to put that into an actual number perspective, if we're gonna say, that, does it make sense, is the maintenance over the next year gonna outweigh what one payment effectively would be?
When we're getting into older equipment, that's always
Sure, yeah,
and I guess if the thing, lack of better words, craps out, we'll be revisiting it because we really can't be, that would be when we'd look at for a few months renting something or whatever.
Sure,
But
yeah.
I think I'm willing to take that chance that we can get by. If the hood falls off, we'll get it back on.
So we're looking at like a $26,000 investment each year, right?
Right,
For the
right,
loader?
right.
Okay. So, yeah. And just to clarify, when we do put things out to auction, or not auction, or sell, or
The
whatever,
municipal bid, yep.
it comes off from what number for us for finance when we sell something?
If we sell it outright, then it will go back into the department's equipment reserve. If we trade it in, then it just comes off the lease amount.
Okay, so this one, so these pieces of equipment we're talking about, it's gonna come off, they would go towards the reserve?
Correct.
Because we don't have
Yeah,
lease
which
payments
would
on.
help us in the future.
And at the time of trade, it'll try to look at, does it make more? Can we get more out of trading it than we
Right,
can?
yeah, makes sense, yep, yep. That was my major question.
do I hear any motions on that?
I file a motion to remove the loader from the budget this year.
Second.
Okay,
I'm looking.
we've got a motion to remove that from line 7260, remove the 26 case backhoe loader,
I guess,
30,783. Any other, we got a second from Jeff. Any other discussions on that? Okay, let's go to vote. Bill, why don't you lead us off as always?
I vote yay.
Oh, mixing it up, Walker, hit me with it.
Aye.
Aye?
Yes.
Yes. Helen?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Unanimous. All right, moving on.
Next up.
Next up is the Buildings and Grounds Department. Moving on to page 179. I think the biggest talk here in this department is gonna be the mowing budget, which does, show up in other departments as well. Glenn, have a seat.
I'm gonna stay here a minute, because we've
Saddle up,
kind of,
yeah.
You want us to walk through what's
Yeah,
here?
I'm not even sure where to start on this one. I don't know if, yeah. Well, why don't we start on the packet?
I don't know,
that-
do you want to, or you could? Go for it, you did it,
Okay, so I looked at what was allocated in total for wages, employment, taxes, what we put in here for small equipment, safety gear, lease purchase agreement. So the total in here for we do it ourselves for this fiscal year was $88,921. Based on the mowing contract estimates that we provided you at the last meeting, for 2 months of mowing, so May and June, we would have to add effectively $117,000 back into this budget in different places, depending on if it's a park or whatever, into the budget, which would be a net increase to the budget of $28,079.
So when you say estimated, just to clarify, the estimated mowing contract increase, that is of a contract that we don't currently have
Correct,
for next year.
correct,
right?
Well, based on data and projected growth from historical.
correct.
And Megan, that increase you're talking about is like 30% or 31%, $96,000? 311,000 to 407,000?
Yeah, so the last time we renewed the contract, the price increased 60% in that first year. So we split that percentage in half, and that's what we used for the estimate for the new contract.
Glenn, you got any other high points you wanna hit on that?
On that,
At least on the mowing. I say that also because we didn't hear from you specifically during the meetings. I know you were out sick,
sorry, I
but,
missed that.
yeah, that's,
I don't know, you had any specific questions about it that I might come up with?
how much problem do you see, how realistic do you actually see it being of hiring 4 part-time employees and having it work out for the better?
I hired part-time employees quite often for quite a few years, and certain years it was quite tough to find the ones you need. That's my concern is, I mean, I don't mind doing work even if I have to mow some and whatnot, but if we end up missing a guy and the grass is still growing, we're gonna have to try to fill in and move around Matt and I, what we're doing too, so. I don't know, that's my main concern is people. And if you mow a cemetery like Amesbury, you can see that it's not mowing, it's, more like you're sculpting everything, so. That takes probably 3 or 4 times as long as a regular lawn type mowing, so.
Glenn and I have talked about this through the week, and, this number is big enough, so it's here on the table. It needs to be looked at. Is this the year to do it? I don't know where we're at, that it is. I think it should be, thought about. I think we should sit down, and Glenn and I have talked about this as well together. I think we should have a serious conversation with the person doing it now, see if there's any room for what he can do for us, because it is so close. And like you brought up the other night, the maintenance is a bit of an unknown on these pieces of equipment. You could do some damage to them by not even trying, and that's an unknown where we've not been in this business. So it's really close, and I guess.
I mean, we're certainly not gonna spend any less than what you have for a proposed budget.
Right, no.
And the thing we don't see either is when Farley's are doing it every day. We don't know if three of those guys were sick all week and they broke two machines and all that because Tom just brings in another batch, you know, so we don't see those problems up firsthand, so that, I'm sure we've run into a few of those kind of things that maybe we can jump in and keep it going, but you don't want it to, you know, like a good haircut, you don't want to know you had it done. Same type of deal, mowing grass, keep it pretty all the time. So that's my main concern.
When do we
Sorry,
actually
Jeff,
sit down and,
I wasn't necessarily talking.
Talking about my haircut?
when do we actually sit
Like,
down and come up with a new contract?
Next fall, winter, before the start of, I mean,
This coming fall,
yeah,
winter.
yeah, I mean, it'd be, you know, certainly well before we're spending this money.
Right.
We would have, and I'm not saying to overinflate this budget, but I think there are concerns, or we need more information, or there's skepticism, or whatever that might be, you know, I think to use that time, and can we extend the existing contract for a reasonable cost that would be within budget and perhaps well less than the 30% that we've built in? That may be worth a good, an idea, and I'm sort of looking around the room for heads nodding. If that's what's thought of as a good idea, then that's something that we could pursue. You know, that's obviously the putting out to bid is a very big process. I've talked about this with others about, you know, different ways in which you could shrink the size of what's put out and do, you know, different avenues. But if there's a sense from this group of, we have a good deal, or we have a good package of what we're doing, and if we can find a way to make that come into a better number to fit into the budget, it's worthwhile pursuing. I'm not saying that's what you're all saying, but I'm sort of just trying to read the room of what we're trying to accomplish, which is.
John,
reduce
Bill
costs.
Freeman.
Hey, Bill.
Question, what is the earliest time that we could go out for a new contract on the mowing?
I think it's a question when someone will be comfortable giving us a number for next year.
But I mean, what I'm thinking is, I mean,
Yeah.
if we could get an answer there, and I mean, this increase that Megan's showing of $96,000 is, you know, a big number. If we
Sure.
could find out what we could get for a contract as soon as possible, that you could make a decision on this, put something in the budget, obviously, but you could get a
Yeah.
decision on this once you've seen what it is that we're gonna be working on.
Yep.
As far as hiring our new people or using the outside help. So that's why I'm questioning how soon we could go out and ask for a new contract.
Yeah, I think it's a very good question, Bill. I think we would want to talk with Tom right away. As you said, I don't think we can probably do it in time to get an answer before Monday, perhaps, but I think it's something certainly well before the end of this season we could go out. I'm looking across the table to somebody who might put out some bids. No, not for this town. Oh, look at that, I'm spelling things. But, you know, in the business, I guess, how soon would you see bids for other contracts? Not this one, because you wouldn't bid on it.
In
but-
my business, I never wait till the very end. So if I have a 1 year left on snowplow
Yep.
mowing, I'm talking to my vendors and I'm trying to extend it. I don't wanna wait. And like in my position with the town.
Yeah.
It'd be great to sign a 5-year contract. And
Yeah.
again, you're gonna have step increases every year because of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But at least you have a solid number.
That's reliable.
And when I'm looking at this, and if I heard Megan right, the difference of bringing this in-house or keeping contract for this year is $28,000.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna run through $28,000 and no problem with issues, guaranteed. I mean, I was just looking over the breakdown, I didn't bring it with me, I was looking everywhere, but like 5,000 in fuel for a truck and mowing, and it's no faults of anyone, but that's very, very low.
Yep.
Blades, all that, I mean, it's just, I don't think we're in a
Yeah, no.
position where we can handle it.
That number was put together to say, you know, this is a close, rough.
But I think that
It's
number,
big.
I think that number justifies what we know and what we don't know
Right.
about this business.
Right.
And that's not any faults to anyone. It's just, I think we have a good thing going right now. And the other part of me and being a business owner in Rockport is me and Tom do the same business to a
Right.
certain degree. But I'm okay giving business to a guy that's paying taxes to our town.
Sure.
I think it's money well spent. I'd rather give him when he's paying us
Yeah.
personal and property taxes. I think it's what we owe him.
He does some other stuff, well, he does a lot of stuff for the town, but
Yeah.
he also appreciates trying to save money, and he's looking at alternative ways that mowers that he's bought and mowers that he's using. And I feel like he'll try to pass them on if that's a savings to him. If he can do it cheaper, I think he'll try to work with us.
But with the histories with the Farley family and the cemeteries, I think we owe it to them. I don't,
They do a good
I wouldn't step on it because they've done it for, and we had that one hiccup for a little bit and we went back with Farley.
That's right,
So, there you go.
exactly.
I mean, I think too, just looking at this, even if we budgeted for going with a mowing contract, and for some unpredicted reason, their contract number came back astronomically high. I mean, we have on paper right now a backup plan that would fall under the budget that we would budget for if it was contracted. So worst comes to worst, if their budget number were to increase by more than what we would guess, then we go back to just doing it ourselves like we have a plan for.
That's,
I also, just to back up too, I do appreciate all the time you guys put into this. Even, I know this was a lot to at least put this together and get us headed in the right direction because we had questioned it so much
It's a
last
big
year.
enough number so that we need to be talking about,
Yeah.
and down the road, we've got, like I said, sidewalk, and we'll look at that and see down the road next year, can we combine, or, we see what he says about a 5-year contract, but it's a big enough number to talk about and for you guys to decide how you wanna get there.
that's what I was gonna say. $28,000 buys us the option not to make the decision right now. Right? And probably we would use it, to Craig's point, in maintenance or something anyway, so it seems like a reasonable thing.
I want to get a little clarification. I think at the last meeting, one of the meetings, the mowing season is May to October, roughly, is what somebody said. Okay, so we're talking about budgeting for this year. That includes this, I mean, May is going to be in the current budget.
May and June.
I thought the season started June 1.
Our budget starts July 1st.
July 1st, okay. So May and June are already paid for in the current season. So we're talking about July 1 through October, and then May and June of next year. And Farley's contract expires when?
In October.
In this October?
October 26th.
Okay, so some point of this line 3630 will pay for July to October. That's the 24,000 or 23,400.
So mowing is split amongst multiple departments. So there's mowing in parks, there's mowing in cemeteries, there's mowing in building and grounds, and there's mowing in recreation.
And what's the total of all of those? And
That's-
are they all held by Farley?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We're only covered in this budget May and June of next year
Right,
because we're under contract for the rest of this year.
right, I know, that's what I'm
That's where
trying to clarify, and,
So in the document I handed out today, the buildings and grounds section, this is covering that May to June, what we would have to remove and what we would have to add to the budget.
May and June of 2027.
Yes.
Does that include the new park?
It does not include anything for Rockport Commons.
But it doesn't need to?
No,
No.
but there'll be more conversations surely about that.
I'm with you, I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure we
We're
didn't
not-
leave something out.
Yeah, but there's not meant to be any impact, taxpayer impact of that as well.
Gotcha. Good.
Other than what we're already doing, which isn't very much.
Okay. So do I hear a motion out there?
I file a motion to stay in-house with our mowing contractor and remove the, not in-house, contract, right? Add a net change increase to the budget for 20, I'm adding money? That's not
Yes.
good.
Bill just looks
This is your idea,
You
buddy.
do the motion.
This was your idea. We were good with it.
28,079.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you did. Now second me.
You found a savings
Okay, so-
enough to cover it, so don't worry.
What's your motion?
The motion filed was to increase the budget outlined in this section on paper in front of us to the tune of 28,000.
Before somebody seconds that, I worded it as motion to remain with contracted mowing services instead of bringing it in-house, effectively increasing the budget $28,079.
Yeah,
You
what
okay
she
with
said.
that?
Fair enough, yeah.
You second it?
I'll second it, sure.
Just had to
It'll be my pleasure.
put the touch on it, polish her up, okay. All right, so we've got a second, any other discussion on the motion that Megan said?
So,
Okay, let's go
wait,
to,
so we're taking out, everything under number one says removal,
Yep.
we're
and
doing,
going with 3. Okay, what happens to the number 2, estimated?
we're
time?
doing everything on that paper.
So you're doing the removal, you're adding the contracted service in for May and June, which 3 is just telling you what the difference of that is.
Got it, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's go to vote. Bill, I'm gonna start off with you again.
Freeman votes aye.
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 Steve, Helen,
Yes,
Craig,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
yes. Okay, moving on, unanimous. That's a walked-on budget committee right there.
That sure is.
All right, moving on to the police department. I don't know if Mr. Greeley's still on, but
He is. Got a bad wing, but he's doing okay.
okay, page 97. Let me get to there real quick.
Do you wanna keep going, explaining this?
Sure, if you go to item number 3 on the thing I gave out today, I just wanted to outline what it would look like. I know that there's been discussions about, the patrol position, so if the additional patrol position were to be removed, letter I is all the items that would have to be removed from the budget, to make that effective, which would be a reduction of $119,221. We would have to effectively add money for overtime, into the budget. As it's been noted, it's been a while since we've had a fully staffed department, so to know exactly what that true overtime number is, we just don't have that. So listed here is how I figured, what we would potentially need, for overtime. We know as our current schedule stands, we have a 13-hour shift that is uncovered that would be automatic overtime every week. So the overtime coverage for that would be $51,410. Then I assumed that each officer would take roughly 3 weeks per year for PTO, whether they're sick or vacation, and then allocated effectively 40 hours worth of training, for each officer for the fiscal year. So that would be a total of $60,840. So the total overtime that I'm estimating would be $112,250. To that, so we have $40,000 in the budget already for overtime. So we'd have to increase overtime by $72,250. And then effectively, because we're increasing wages to that amount, we have to increase FICA, retirement, main paid family medical leave, and workers' compensation, because those are all wage-based deductions. So the total additions to the budget would be $88,580, which would be a net decrease to the budget of $60,641.
30,000.
Sorry, that's what I meant.
I like the other one better.
Let me ask you just a real simple level. I mean, I'm not a policeman, and I don't deal with that stuff, but I just did a quick Google and said, how many policemen typically cover X number of residents? And I think the number I got was 2.3 officers per 1,000 people, and that's 8. And currently, we've got 6, and they want 7. That's pretty simple to me. Am I missing something?
Bill, where's that information from?
Yeah.
It's called, how many officers are there per 1,000 residents across the country?
Yeah,
think
we're not
the other-
across the country, though.
I understand
Lowest crime rate
that. That's why I asked the question,
Yeah.
am I missing something?
I think the other factor is location.
Well, I guess I'm just wondering, then you start looking at this balance of uncovered, overtime, et cetera, are we overstressing the workforce? And I know there's no perfect answer here, but it just seems that if we're, at a staffing level that, at least on a national level, and I realize we're not Baltimore where my poor daughter lives, different than, Rockport, I get that. But you're still stressing a workforce that still needs to be on the street. So I'm asking the question, if we're still below the national average, which that 7 would be, and these folks are telling us that we've got overtime issues and staffing issues and staff stress, are we just not listening? Or, again, am I missing something? It's a question, not a statement.
Bill Freeman, does it also talk about those same numbers you have, show the crime rate again across the country in the different towns?
No, that's the point, Bill. I mean, it's not a perfect answer. I get it. I just was trying to do some basic research, try to understand the issue. And that's all I did. And I guess I'm just
I understand.
asking that question is, am I missing something here?
I mean, what your implication is that we need to have the extra officer based on what you're presenting, correct?
Yeah, and again, that's a simplistic analysis. I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm good at math, but I don't really know how to look at these patrolmen and say, yeah, you don't really need them, don't worry about it. I'm not qualified to answer that question.
Clay, I remember the discussion with Chris in the write-up, okay, the major accomplishments. It talked about the Knox County Sheriff's Office was contacted and asked if they could cover historically low call for service hours. And this would allow, and the Sheriff Polkey came back and graciously agreed to cover the requested hours at no additional cost to the town as part of our yearly tax assessment to the county. I can't remember what the discussion was after those comments were made. Can somebody help me?
I thought that he had said the sheriff would certainly provide coverage, but it would come with a price tag.
And we,
And that price
and I
tag, I
heard
don't
that
think-
also. I guess the question is, we never went back and asked what the price tag was,
No,
right?
we did not.
No.
But the other
So
clarifying
that's-
question was, what changed? Because they did cover us last year. So
They've
what
got-
changed with that
got-
conversation?
There's a new county sheriff, isn't there? Or-
No, same sheriff,
Same
different chief.
Oh, okay.
So that was
I mean,
my
my
question.
my only-
sense
my only-
from the discussion the other day was that they understood that we faced this unique situation with tragic loss, and like we were really thin there for a while, and they sort of stepped in.
So how many-
But I mean, we don't know, that's the key question, is what is the price? And we never got the price, we don't have the sheriff, like, and plus, Megan said something important earlier, which is we've never had a fully staffed department with 7 people before. And so to decide, we finally have 7 for the first time in the town.
Well, we only have 6 right now.
Well, I know, well, that's what I'm
Proposed.
saying, we've got to 6. But that's for the first time, we've got to 6, and now to automatically go to 7 without even sort of trying the 6 for a year, to see, because we're guessing what the overtime's gonna look like, and we haven't had,
Well-
doesn't appear like we've had discussions with the sheriff's office about what that might look like, what a partnership would look like.
What number was he at when the sheriff officer was fine doing it at 3? We had 3?
3,
Yeah.
barely 3.
So that's including Randy?
That doesn't include Randy, because Randy didn't.
That
work
was
for
at
us.
the time. Yep.
So Sergeant Greeley's on, so Chris is out of the area, and he actually did get hurt a couple different occasions, Sergeant Greeley is, but he can answer any questions you may have. Certainly has been involved in some of those conversations, so if there's any help he can provide in this conversation, he's here.
I would say when he does answer the question about the price, it would be good to know, is it a price for if no calls or a price per call? It'd be my question. Like, if we have an incident, are we paying per incident?
No, it wouldn't be per incident. It would be per hours covered. That's my understanding is how that would work. I mean, there'd be no way to dictate whether calls would come in or not or anything like that. So it'd be based on an hourly wage.
So
Well, the reason I bring it up is
price,
that,
then we could
again,
offset
it's-
the overtime.
Sorry.
If we
I
had,
heard you
if
both
we
at the
had
same
the
time.
hours, yeah, sorry.
No, it's
If
okay.
we had the
Yeah.
price per hour coverage, we could balance that against the overtime expense.
Yeah, right, because that's.
And the overtime expense just
What's
trickles
out
down
versus
from
in.
everything else. Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, is there a number that we're gonna look for at that price per hour that would make it worth it or not? Do we, more or less, do we have an hourly wage that would say, okay, at $40 an hour, we would seriously look into it? If it were $190 an hour, we're not even gonna touch it. I mean,
I think it's a
even
good
if it
que-
wasn't an hourly rate.
But there's so many other moving pieces here. Camden's trying to figure out what they're gonna do.
Agreed.
The sheriff, like, there's just, we've got a regionalization task force of some variety that's gonna come together here, that's gonna ideally look into some of these things. And I don't understand what the rush is now. I understand there's overtime we've gotta pay, it's expensive, I get it. But there's just so many other moving pieces here. This is a transition that happened just a few months ago, that we made this change. And it just feels like, again, let's just try this for a year, see how it goes, get the data, get the regionalization group off the ground, have some discussions with Camden, have some discussions with the sheriff, and figure out some way that we may be able to do this in a more cost-effective manner before we add another entire position to the police.
Can I talk about it for 1 second? Would that be okay?
Please.
I yield.
Absolutely.
Okay. When considering this seventh position, Chris and I talked quite a bit about it, and looking at it for what it was, the money speaks for itself by its side. I mean, we can see that. Megan's put it down for us that way. What I looked at it from was from an officer safety standpoint, and the couple of examples that I popped into my head immediately was, there was a day last winter where we got hit with a freak snowstorm, and there were 7 car crashes that came in, and I was the guy working, and Knox took one of those for me, and I think Rockland PD took another one for me, and I had 5 crashes that I covered there. The crashes themselves take what they take, depends how far the vehicle's off in the woods or how long it takes to recover, if there's multiple patients, whatever. That scene takes as long as it takes. Some of them you can wrap up in 20 minutes, a half an hour. Some of them can take, like this morning's, 6.5 hours. But then there's the other side of that people often don't see, is when we're doing crash reports. The crash report itself, if it's a basic car deer crash, probably half an hour. If it's a more involved crash, you're taking an hour to do that, sometimes even longer than that. And when you're working a single man department at a time, like, there's not a lot of overlap in our schedules as such that allow for, like, when I did all those crash reports afterwards, I still had to cover calls for service while doing those crash reports. So I might be halfway through one, break away, go cover a call, then come back, finish that crash up, start the next one, etc. The other part was this, it worked out very fortunately this day. We actually had a department meeting, and there was a call that came in down at the hospital for a fellow who the hospital staff was justifiably concerned for. I guess the last time they had tried to get him to take his medication, he broke somebody's orbital bone. And fortunately for us, we had people at the department, so Chris and I actually responded down there. Things went well enough, it's good that way. With this additional officer, we got a little creative with the schedule to try and cause overlaps, so that the guys could have that extra backup. We prompted it at busier times where officer safety concerns or calls might be elevated. And so that way we had 2 officers responding to that call versus just the one, and maybe he's waiting for backup, and granted, we work in a more urban district as such. I worked for a county for almost 20 years prior, and sometimes backup up there would be 20 minutes, half an hour away, so I got really good at the art of diplomacy. But the idea being is you're mitigating officer safety risks, both injuries, you're mitigating risk to a suspect where you have 2 officers there that can, even just the physical presence of 2 officers. I mean, nobody likes to be in the odds of 2 against 1, and not that I'm making it a fight situation, but just that physical presence of 2 uniformed officers that are there. That was where the consideration came from with this. And so when I consider, like, even my position now with this stupid arm brace and all the other stuff that happened this weekend, now guys are working overtime because they're having to cover my shift. If we had that additional officer, we have the ability to when we got creative with it, to slide him into a position where he can cover that shift if it's a known thing. Are we gonna have sick days and things like that, or, you know, accidents happen or whatever? Yeah, absolutely, and that's what we have an overtime budget for. But if we have a guy who's gonna be planned on being out for a while, whether it be vacation or training or whatever, that schedule, we can slide that guy into that position and cover that way. So I'm doing two things there. I'm saving the money, but the other side of that is I'm not causing another employee to come in on overtime and thereby taking him away from his family, taking away his own rest time. You know, last summer was a unique set of circumstances, no doubt. I think there was one stretch where I did 18 days straight, and my wife was very patient with me. My kids were very patient with me. You know, we were scraping by, and this additional seventh position is huge for us in the sense of officer safety and just well-being of the officers in general, and better service to the public. I mean, we're working on an outreach program right now. We're working on inroads with the school. We're working on a number of different projects to bring you a better service from your police department.
Quick question, what are your hours? For example, do people work 7 to 3, 9 to 11, you know, what's the general
Fair enough.
schedule?
Yep, so your core schedules are Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. You have a day and a night shift there. The day shift officer will work 05:30 to 6:50 in the evening, so 18:50. So a 13-hour day. Conversely, the nighttime guy will come in at 5:30 in the evening, and he's working until 6:50 in the morning. And that happens Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then again on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You have the same corresponding hours for those days. My schedule is a flex schedule between those times so that I get overlap between both sides of the week so I can see both my nighttime and daytime guys. I have been working the 5:30 to 6:50 shift on Wednesday during the daytime, which leaves that nighttime Wednesday open. This seventh position would fill that Wednesday night shift, so you're not paying overtime for that, and it would be able to flex to fill other shifts as needed through vacations or trainings, like I said, or if nothing's going on, it would work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So in those busier times, we would have those two additional officers there. And he would also, or she would also, have that ability to flex their hours.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I think one of my biggest questions, if we've been running from 21 to 25 with 5.3 officers. Obviously, we had the split chief for a while, and then 2 years ago, or last year, whatever year the position actually opened up, we had 6.3 officers, and now we're at 6 full-time officers. My only drawback is that we haven't even had enough time to see how this layout is gonna work for us. I mean, it certainly would be ideal to have the 7th officer, there's no questions about that, but as far as the budget goes, we don't even necessarily know that our numbers are gonna be accurate. So I think, you know, regionalization may be something that plays into this, and it may not be something that plays into this, I don't know, but I do at least think we maybe wanna wait a year just to see how a 6-member police department does. I don't wanna take it off the table for next year right out of the gate, but I think for at least right now, we can see how how the dust settles after a new position was added last year.
Didn't we
The only
just
thing that
clear
makes
that
it tough,
though?
Clay, is like, even in this circumstance where I'm at now, they're saying 2 weeks to maybe up to 7 months if this thing's actually torn and it's ripped and all the stuff that they say it is. That schedule could help fill and mitigate those risks and mitigate the cost too.
I think one thing to consider too is I was pretty conservative in estimating these overtime rates because we have hired people with so much experience. They do earn more than 3 weeks of PTO time a year. So if the schedule allowed, they could potentially take more than that.
Sure. I mean, I presume though, if someone goes out on injury, are we still paying them? I'm assuming they end up on like a short-term disability or something on an extended injury, and we're not paying as much for that, which might free up some money for OT. No,
If
is
they
that
have accrued benefits, they're allowed to use those benefits while they're out on leave.
I think what Clay's asking is our the town's responsible for paying that employee, whether it's police or anyone else, and we're not paying them, the insurance is paying them from what
We
we
would
paid them.
still be paying them if they have accrued time. So our short-term disability only covers up to 70%. So we would effectively at most be paying them 30% while they're out. So we allow them the 70% up to for short-term disability, and then they can make it up to 100% with any accrued time that they have. So there would be some savings, but not a ton. Because we're still covering their benefits and stuff while they're out.
I have a question on the overtime calculation. First of all, when you say conservative, you mean you think it could be a lot higher, or you think this is
I think
the
it
most?
could be more,
Right.
but I don't know.
And could you help me, because we have 40,000 budgeted currently.
Mm-hmm.
Could you help me just bridge that to the 60,840 here? Just like what change? I mean, the weekly shift makes sense to me if we're not adding a new patrol officer. But is the.
Because the
PTO
idea was that the seventh person would be able to slide into a vacant shift. So if somebody that normally works days is on vacation, instead of paying the other person that works days to cover that shift, the seventh person would then work that day shift. So there wouldn't have been overtime for that week.
And that's for the PTO?
Right, so like,
I
say Jim's on vacation, he works Tuesday,
Right.
Wednesday, Thursday, and then the seventh person, instead of like having two people on a shift, that person would then take Jim's schedule for that week.
Right. And so that costs an extra $20,000 roughly in overtime versus what we have in the budget with the seventh position.
Right.
And a really nitpicky question, and I'm sure I should know this of all people, but the health insurance is $10,000 lower budgeted for this patrol officer compared to the public works. Is that just, we're not doing a family plan or something for?
I did the new formula for the patrol position when we originally did wages and benefits. I thought that we would have hired the engineer already, so I did that at the old
Got it.
method.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to unnecessarily, give a, I don't know how to phrase it. Anyway, Chris and I spoke before the budget meeting tonight, and if it becomes a point of contingency, as far as, the chief's car goes, if we forewent that to get this position, we'd be willing to concede that, if that would be a consideration.
Yeah, I think that's a hard one because that's only a one-year expense. It certainly can contribute to the decision. And it certainly shows how much you guys care about the position.
Yep. It means a lot, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't see this as a money issue. Yes, it's a budget issue, I understand, but if Mike runs out of labor, they just don't do the job for that week and they defer it. We don't have that option here.
We
I
kind of
see
do.
this, we really,
We don't know that, because we haven't had discussions with Camden, and we haven't had discussions with the sheriff's department about what the options are. We've been given one option here, not a slate of options. These guys came in the last meeting with a whole, here's option A, here's option B, here's option C on a couple of things that we were looking at. We've had some here today. We've been given one option here.
so you're hearing the professional on the screen
Yeah.
here say, this is what we need in order to satisfy our public safety and our personal safety issues with respect to that. Candidly, comparing that also to the national rate, I look at it and say, I'm not in a position to disagree with that rationalization with respect to the argument. To me,
We
it's,
disagreed with it last year. They
Yeah.
put it in the budget request last year, and John didn't include it. He dropped it out of the budget because we had these same discussions last year. Now we've gotten to the point where we have a fully staffed department, and I'm with
apparently
Clay.
don't.
Let's try it and see how it goes, and let's continue these discussions with these other agencies
I
around
mean,
us.
granted, we did technically have Randy last year
Yeah,
too, which
I know.
is some difference, but.
I think the biggest thing for me is knowing what our monetary costs would be from the sheriffs. Because, I mean, what's the difference from us right now in Camden. The sheriff stepped in at Camden, and they're covering that position. But for us, it's a cost. So, I mean, I understand there's a cost, but what's the cost? Because if it's a difference of, it sounds like by the schedule that just got described to Helen, it's not a full-time unless there's a huge amount of PTO or sick time. So if we're in that up and down movement of 20 to 80%, I'd like to know what that cost was from the county.
So you're asking,
I don't
we
think we're
we
gonna
want
get
the
the
sheriff
answer
to
tonight,
cover
though.
one shift per, a week? Say, what, you said the Wednesday night shift or the night shifts, is that what we're asking?
No, I think
Or
I think it
to-
goes back to the past where if we were low staff, they just covered us at no cost. Now they're gonna charge us, but we kinda need to know, like,
they're
what's the hourly cost? But I don't think we're gonna get that answer. We can't get that answer tonight, unfortunately. So it's based on position at this point.
But if we presume that the hourly cost coming from the sheriff's department can't be that much of a derivation from hiring somebody to do the same job and having them in-house, except for accumulated hours, I can't see you. You know, that's not gonna be that much different in terms of hourly.
My assumption would be if I turned down this position, I would assume that our intern police chief would do his best effort with communication with Knox County to get us coverage for the least amount possible.
If the budget's there, if we put something in there. But with respect to all the options that we've gotten on other things, even if we had 2 or 3 options in here that had to do with regionalization, et cetera, that all is gonna take a year or 2 to hammer out. Oh, consider the recalcitrant of some of our neighbors, yeah, I'll stand by that statement. And the oft-heard explanation of what to do with, quote, excess people in our thing, if we did have something with the sheriffs or the county, the presumption is that the people that are on the current force in Rockport will get hired by the bigger entity. So if we're saying to ourselves, it's not fair to hire somebody and then a year later get rid of them, any of the other solutions we have presumably look at that people or that person or those people and envelop them in their own force and their own offerings.
And Jeff, the problem is we really don't know what the cost is. And when you're talking about having the sheriff's department, I mean, does it include, the benefits for the person that we would use from the sheriff's office, or would it be a flat fee? We really don't know what it is. I'm of the opinion, and I realize a lot of the policemen don't like the overtime, but I'd like to go without hiring the new position and see how we run as far as overtime goes and see if we made a huge mistake here. But I think the two things, looking at the sheriff's support and what it would cost us and what it's gonna cost us on overtime, are two factors that we don't know at this point.
Hey, can I speak just for a second? I got something to offer you guys. I had a really good conversation in the.
Come up to the
Lawns and
microphone,
Gardens.
because Bill can't hear you. I can't hear you.
He's coming up, Bill.
I'll just take a quick moment. Hi, Bill. I had a good conversation in the lawn and garden department the other day with one of the sheriffs that's been in the department a long, long time. Whether you do this or you don't do this, somebody should be talking to them, because you don't know if you're gonna be 5 people, 6 people, 3 people. But if they could give you an idea what's going on, which is what this guy told me, he says, we can help. And he said some number around $70 an hour. I don't know what your numbers are now, I really don't know. But whether you do this or you don't do this, you should still have a conversation with them, and you should still have a conversation with Camden. I can't believe Camden didn't swing across the line if they had to.
Every week, we should be having these conversations.
So just want to throw that out there. I know you don't have a person there to do it right now, but it's an option out there for you. So, and the guy that I talked to is a sheriff, and he's been there a long time. And I don't want to put him out on the line, because just not gonna do that. So, thank you.
I've
How
got
many
two.
people does the sheriff have on staff? Just, do we have a ballpark for that?
No.
And they're covering how much of the county? Not Camden, us, or Rockland? Everybody else
Or
gets.
Thomaston,
Or Thomaston. Everybody else gets covered.
right.
I've got two things. First, a dispassionate, unloaded statistic. Truly, just because I'm curious at Bilbo's, his numbers. This is from a Maine Police Employment Data DPS report. In rural Maine, the ratio of officers per 1,000 is 1.41. Statewide, it's 1.75, and then nationally, it's 2.2, which is closer to yours. So that tells me we're not outside the range for Maine. We also, adding the officer probably wouldn't put us outside the range, and I certainly respect Sergeant Greeley's position on this, and, as the professional in the room, and I'm very much in favor of police safety. Is there an approach where we, as a budget committee, or at least those of us that vote for it, recommend not starting this position with the year? It's $30,000 of difference. If we split that in half, say, give it a year with a full staff at 6 officers, see how it's looking. If we really feel like the 7th is really going to be beneficial, we can hire on the calendar year.
Unprofessional reaction to that for just a second. One, it's really hard to find people, and if they need to go to the state academy, then you're still paying, overtime while that person's away, and then there's guiding. So I'm not sure that 6 months of a partial split, if I understand you correctly, I'm not sure if that'll tell us much of anything, because they won't even be fully into their thing unless it's a senior officer that comes in seamlessly.
We'll at least have 6 more months
Yeah.
of a fully staffed department, right? I mean, how long have we been fully staffed for?
Fully staffed meaning 6
If
people?
that,
6 total, yeah. Two
two,
months.
maybe, barely.
So 6 months is a big change. I don't want to just flat out take this off the table by any means. I just don't think we have enough information currently to roll forward with that, but that's just me.
I
Again,
think there's
don't-
just so many moving pieces, right? A lot has changed in the last 12 months.
There's a potential opening with this Camden thing.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah,
we let these,
Can I just say quickly something about this? That in the last 2 years, we've had significant turnover in the department. Hired 3 people last November, not November 24. Hired 3 people in the November, December, January timeframe. Last year, Chief Gagné put this in the budget, and we were in a really tough budget last year. I couldn't justify it at that point in time. I felt as though I was making a lot of the arguments that have been said here tonight, so I certainly appreciate where you're coming from. This past fall, I think Steve alluded to it, we had some tragic circumstances that we ran into, and we also went from, a fully staffed department in June to, again, a point where we had 3 people working the road. This has been a challenge to maintain that full staffing. And I would love to say, if I were a betting man, I would have thought a year ago, I said, oh, we'll be fine. A year from now, everything will be, tip-top shape. That didn't work out this year, tragically so. I do think that it's wise to be mindful of what is in the air around you, and I think that's right to be. There's a different view of policing than what we're used to, and I think that's good. I think that's a good thing for us to look at value and look at what is it that Rockport needs and is expecting. I'd also be cautious with that, because we've somehow turned into an opportunity at times where public services are become commoditized. And I'm very concerned about what that can mean. Might it work out for the town of Rockport this year? In a certain circumstance, it might. It might work out for the town of Camden. But it may not, and it's a very different model than what we've been used to. This has been a long time where we've had 4 communities who've had their own police departments. And then we've had a county sheriff's department that has handled the rest of the county. Now that model is shifting and moving. And where that benefits and who that benefits, I'm not totally sure yet, in all honesty. We did get numbers at one point from the county sheriff over a year ago. So this was when we were, I guess, a year ago in our last concern. And they were looking to charge us the detail rate of $70 an hour, so that kind of fits where Rick was going. Rockland's offered us a detail rate of $80 an hour, which, oh, by the way, kind of works out with the PTO number that we have here, which is $76. So I guess my point is that, this is a hard time that we're all facing, and I think it's wise to go in eyes wide open, try to find the best value we can for the community in that conversation. But I will say my experience of a year ago of telling you, I cut this position, I don't think it's needed, and we went through a worse fall, and I sort of rue that, and I felt like that probably was a mistake. Again, the head count issue, I think, is one that's separate and apart. But I do want to say, overall, we are under 0, I think, at this point. So this is a point where the net impact to taxpayers is what it is. And I do think we can also perhaps take time and wait to do that hiring, wait until we've had those conversations once again. Because it is moving, to Steve's point, it's moving very fast. I don't think we have to put this position out tomorrow. But if we don't have the funds available in this budget, we wouldn't be able to take advantage of that at all. So it's again, more of a neither here nor for nor against issue, but I just want you to understand my perspective is one where we did give it the year. It didn't work out the way I would have hoped. And now we're, I think, in a situation where we could pause, not handle the hiring. Maybe there's a 3/4 year position so Walker's point, and maybe that takes care of the 30,000 to some degree. Or we could do something that gives the time for that. And then there's, have an opportunity to really suss out where that goes. Because I do think the position's important, but I think there's data that we all need. And I think the chief and Sergeant Greeley are working really hard to try to get that value, as I think others have said. That's all.
John, Bill Freeman, have we ever figured out exactly how many hours that this, again, additional police officer, how many hours that he would actually be, again, needed each year? And what the overtime cost is, again, for the same person? And I'm thinking about what you just said, the $70 an hour. If we
Yeah.
actually figured out the bottom line of what it would cost us between paying $70 again an hour versus the cost of this person, including if we had overtime on it too.
I think you could, correct me if I'm wrong, Megan, but I think you could, in large part, use some of the numbers that Megan came up with. And she used an average overtime rate of 76.05. And I think you could probably work back out of that number to getting to a different overtime rate. It would be less than the 88,580 here, but I think it would be, I don't want to guess, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but probably 10% less than that, so, a little less than 80,000? Is that round numbers here,
But
what
the,
we're talking about?
the $76 you're talking about, John, does that include, okay, for that officer on our payroll, all of the benefits that we provide?
This officer on payroll
No.
in total would be $119,221. The total overtime budget for the department as proposed was $40,000. The ultimate goal is that this position would absorb the majority of the overtime needed by the department.
But I mean, the $76 you refer to, which you figured out was the cost, again, per hour for us, does that include the benefits that we provide that same officer getting the $76 an hour?
No, the $76 an hour is merely just what their overtime pay rate is.
So we would say we're probably, what, $120 an hour if you add on the benefits?
I don't think it would be that much, but it would be
Okay.
more.
But
yes.
we're talking about that
Right.
versus paying,
Right.
the Knox County folks $70 an hour, is that what we're saying?
Potentially.
I think that, yeah, taking a little bit of what you were saying, Bill, I think that's sort of where we're walking in terms of logic, yeah.
Yeah, I think when you look at the bottom line, again, every time we add an employee to the payroll, it's not just the wages, it's all the benefits they get that, again, the taxpayers pay for. So I really think we need to do the numbers on this. And I'd be willing to roll the dice a little bit and see what we do in overtime pay here before we add get a new position. So it's my opinion only.
I just want to be clear, Bill, the 119,221 number that I gave you is wages and benefits for that patrol officer for the year.
Does that include the bonus, the sign-on bonus?
There wouldn't be
No,
a sign-on
because
bonus.
there wouldn't be one,
We
No.
got rid of the sign-on bonus?
Yes,
not for the 7th position.
right.
So the 119,221 includes this officer's base wages and all their benefits and taxes. It's
Okay.
not just wages.
And what we're saying, and that's, okay.
So what you're
Which
saying.
would work out, so if you consider all of that, their regular hourly wage with benefits and everything is about $113 an hour.
Versus what we might be able to hire from Knox County for $70 an hour?
Maybe,
So I mean, the math I come out to,
We
if
don't
we
know,
did,
that's the,
Right.
the math I came up, we
the
did
problem.
$70 with what Megan just said
Oh,
for
sorry,
all
I did
in.
that wrong.
We would be asking if we didn't go with this and we want to keep, so we wasn't overworking our existing 6 people. We'd be asking from Knox County 32.7 hours a week to cover us.
I just want to be clear, the 119,221 works out to $57.31 an hour, not the number I gave you originally.
I just took $119,000 and divided it by $70. Just saying, $70 is out the cost. I don't have anything on top of that, and that gives me the now amount of hours, which is 1,700 divided by 52 weeks. So we're asking Knox County to cover us 32.7, call it 32 hours a week, and that fills the gap. Whether that's the right gap we want, I don't know, but it doesn't put any more pressure on our existing 6 officers. That's kind of how I look at it, but.
The shifts would go to the officers first, then the sheriff's office would look at it afterwards. So the officers could volunteer for that overtime. And any shifts they didn't take, we'd seek the help from the sheriff's office, and pending them saying, yes, we have deputies available to work it. If they didn't, then ultimately we'd mandate officers in to cover those shifts on the other side.
But if we worked out an agreement with the sheriff's office, we could shut down from time A to time B, correct? So it wouldn't be considered overtime?
If they had the staffing, yes. If they didn't have the staffing, if they ran up against it, which we encountered that a few different times when we were short-staffed, then we'd mandate guys in on the other side of that to fill those shifts. They would go to the department first for voluntary overtime, then reach out to the sheriff's office for the remaining shifts. If they can't fill those shifts, then we would mandate guys in and we'd pay them overtime to work those shifts.
So when we get somebody from the sheriff's department, is it the same person that then has familiarity or growing familiarity with Rockport, or is it any number of people would
I
come
don't
in?
know what their schedule is, to be able to safely answer that question. I think they work a fixed schedule, but I'm not 100% certain of that. So there's a possibility that that's true, but I don't know that.
Thank you.
Right, so Megan, again, I'm sorry, I'm a little dizzy tonight. The patrol position, adding that's 119 and change, right? The overtime estimate, assuming it's what it has been over the past year or so, is 88,580.
We would have to add that to the 40,000 that's already in the budget.
Plus
So
the
if-
40 that's already in there.
If you look at, number 2,
So then,
1C, the total overtime estimated for the department is $112,250.
okay, but you said the net budget change is a decrease of 30,641.
Right, so the thought here was that if, I was just giving you the numbers, if the position's removed, we have to add back in overtime to cover shifts that this position would have covered.
Okay, that's the 140.
That's the 112.
112, okay.
So if you take out the 119, but you have to add to your overtime, you're essentially adding $88,580 to your overtime, which between the removal of the position and the addition of the overtime gives you that net budget change.
Okay, I guess what I'm trying to understand is the difference between the cost of a new person and the cost of the overtime. What's the difference? Is that the 30,000?
It's $7,000. If you look
How
at it
many-
one-to-one, it goes from 119 to 21 for the position, and your total overtime is $112,250.
Okay, so $7,000 difference.
Correct.
So what are we arguing about? We can do a new person.
The difference is that 40,000
It's not a
of
$7,000
that.
difference is the issue.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
There's 40,000 already in the budget for the
okay.
total overtime,
Okay,
which is what gives you the
It's not gonna
change
solve
of the
all the
88,000.
overtime problem.
what?
It won't solve all the overtime problems. You're always
Okay.
gonna have overtime.
Correct.
Because guys are hurt and whatever,
Okay,
or out or gone.
just want to have a
And
nice,
some's probably
Clear
desirable,
picture.
I'd imagine.
Okay, any other discussion before, or do I hear any motions currently?
Are we discussing the cruiser and, say, the stipend for animal, what was it?
We certainly
Animal
can.
control
I
with
probably
all this,
wouldn't
or-
start discussing that unless we are done with
Done with
discussing
this.
this position.
Good.
So if we have no motions, then the officer will stay in the budget. Current,
The seventh,
the seventh patrol officer will stay in the budget if we have no motions.
So Clay, I have a motion then. And that is that we do not include the, again, additional position of the police department this time. We don't have enough information in making decisions on the finance side, so I don't think we should put it in the budget, so it's my opinion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion before we vote?
so the motion is to remove the position?
The motion is to remove the position. from the
Recommend.
budget.
It's not to add it, right?
No,
Correct.
It's your motion, Bill.
yeah, you got
You just added an eighth, good job.
We got you. Thanks, Bill.
All right, Bill, I'm gonna let you start off voting on your own motion.
Yay,
Aye.
Yes.
No?
Aye.
No.
no.
Yes.
5-3, passes.
Okay. All right, moving on.
I couldn't hear the total vote. Can somebody-
Sorry, 5-3, Bill, passes. Sorry.
Thank you.
I forget you can't see, and anyway, apologies.
You can see pretty darn good.
You can, but I don't know where the camera is. Anyway,
That's
And-
probably a good thing.
Just to make clear, our willingness to always reconsider this after more data, I think, right? Not that that's part of the motion.
Yes,
but
I think
I think, we thank you, Sergeant Greeley, for your explanation
You're
and
welcome.
understand it.
And I agree with those comments wholeheartedly.
Clay, can I
Yes, sir.
ask, so what is the committee planning to do on this issue? Is it just out of the budget and it's not gonna be considered again in this budget cycle?
The budget committee is gonna recommend to the select board that we do everything that Megan listed on that page, which is to remove all of those wages and to add the OT wages, so that we still will effectively have the same coverage. Those shifts will still be covered.
I think you would have to add, the motion only mentioned the removal of the patrol officer. It did not mention the addition of overtime.
Anybody could make a motion to add it.
Then I make a motion to add to the budget ample overtime as described in section 3, part A, II, 1 through 7.
Can you add to that motion to have discussion with county to discuss offset costs?
Well, you don't wanna
I don't know if we
continue-
necessarily need to
management of the
specify
issue.
that. I think we should just make the motion to put that OT into the budget and then,
Deal with that fact?
this, I don't know if we wanna call it, the assumption is that this conversation will
cost
be had,
savings.
because if these conversations don't get had, then
Don't come back here again.
It
with a
probably
position
won't
if
go
you haven't
well.
had those discussions.
go that way again next year, is my assumption.
Freeman seconds the motion.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion to add the OT back into the budget? Okay, let's take a vote. Bill, how do you vote?
Yay?
Jeff, I'm gonna go to you this time. Bill?
Yes.
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 Unanimous?
Yes. Okay, so moving on, Craig, I don't mean to skip the other things in the police department you wanted to talk about, but I think we'll just put those at the end just because
That's fine.
they weren't, on our agenda there. So moving on to the fire department, I know it was brought up. And the fire department, just to, at least talk about the vehicle reserve and the replacement schedule. I think after a little bit of discussion on this, one of the reasons this was brought up is the replacement schedule for the chief's truck, to at least extend that. One note on that is that is not affecting this year's budget unless we want to change what we're putting into the vehicle reserve. Outside of that, I'm not sure if we still want to have any discussion with regards to that vehicle reserve and replacement schedule. Okay. Not hearing any talk on that. We'll move on to the EMS department. The only specific thing in the EMS department that was brought up was, I think, by Helen for the reserve account. Specifically, Helen, what,
Well, over the years, when we've added money to a reserve, it's been like $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 usually per year. And this just comes out as sort of at 16, so it's sort of an odd account. As the chief said the other day, or somebody said the other day, the heart monitor alone is 50,000. So I would suggest we discuss whether we reduce the 16 to 15 or up it to 20.
Because 16 is a weird number to you?
Yes.
Are you dizzy right now?
No, it's just, I'm looking at precedent, what we've done in the past.
16
And it's
to
usually been
20.
in $5,000 increments.
Well, by 16, aren't we coming up with a number that's appropriate for stretching up or down?
True, but if a heart monitor is 50, and I forget what their estimate was for the gurney and something else was 75, then 20 would get you there faster, because the warranties are
Sure.
only 1 year.
No, it's
30 would get you there faster, too.
True. I'm putting it
should
out
just
as a,
issue them
as
to
a,
everybody in
as a
the town.
discussion.
Thank you, I just needed that break of 8:40.
Go have it Mandarin, you'll feel a little better.
Let me, I can put this fucking page anyway.
Like I said, I'm just throwing it out there for an idea.
Okay, so no motion, or am I hearing a motion? Okay. Any other discussion on the reserve account? Do you want to keep going on it at all? Okay. Hearing that and no motion, I think we'll move on to the administrative department. Through the process, this department, through our budget process, we've had a lot of talk about professional development. I'm not sure that that is the correct term for it, but I think it's at least all encompassing on what may be proposed. And it was thought that the administration department, which is overseen by the select board, the way the structure's laid out, I believe, to at least add some money into the professional development line item to better, I don't know, counsel's the right word, some of our department heads and help our, support our department heads along with the departments they, are over through the town, and at least make them more efficient. I think Bill Bo. can
Well, it had
probably
to do
speak
with some things. It had to do with some professional training, and I think you all know where I feel on this, but I'll let Steve and maybe Walker decide whether or not they want to support something along those lines, or talk about it.
Yeah, for me, it's more than just training for the staff, and we talked a little bit about going to conferences and the value of that. You guys have heard me say before that we don't really have departmental goals, at least in this book, that are helpful to us. I don't think they're helpful to you. I don't think they're helpful to the staff. And I think if we're gonna be, we're gonna be a big town with a big staff and a big budget, that we gotta do things that big organizations do, and big organizations have really smart, strategic, sort of goal setting and performance measures and performance management systems. So I think I'm thinking bigger than sending people to classes, although that's almost certainly a component of it, but I would like to see us bring somebody in who can help the town put a strategic performance management system in place that starts with goals that the select board would create for the town that should be a part of, that would move down into department goals that are very clear, that have metrics, that have deliverables, that have, performance indicators, the whole thing, that would then take another level down into performance management for staff. It would go into job descriptions, it would go into annual reviews, performance reviews, that it's not an HR thing. It's about making sure that everybody, here knows what they're doing. And these are not inexpensive to do, but I would rather spend more money, again, brace yourselves,
We're all sitting
to
down.
do it, you're all sitting down, to do it in a strategic way, so that all of these pieces are linked. Again, I'm fine to have staff go to conferences if there's a conference.
Sure.
And I would love, I have a sort of subcategory of this around AI and technology implementation that I think needs to be a focus of this as well. I think we can work with the select board about how to target some of this into some specific areas, but I think we can come up with or suggest to the board some way to put together, bring somebody in again to set these high-level goals, to set these performance goals by team, by department. I think probably there's some org chart work that needs to be done. We talked about this earlier, about how many direct reports you have and how sustainable that is. And so there's just, I think we've grown, the town has made the decision to grow the organization. We have a lot of people working here now, and we haven't caught up to what a modern sort of performance management structure would look like. So this is not inexpensive, and Bill and I and Walker were throwing around some dollars, figures, or we were just gonna kind of guess, I think, a little bit. But we certainly could put, we could put some money in with the direction that you and the board, and hopefully with guidance from some of us on this committee, think about how to put something like that in place. That when we come here next year, we'd have clear departmental goals in here. They would have metrics that are not portion of real estate tax bill that goes to this department. There would be something a little more useful than that, right? And that, we could revisit these discussions about whether we have the skill and capability that we need to do the things that the town needs to do in terms of the staff. What does that mean for hiring? What does that mean for retaining people? What does that mean for promoting people? Like, it's really one big thing, but it's big, and it's complicated, and it's gonna take some time to do, and it's not inexpensive to do. But I think we're well overdue, given the growth of the town, the growth of the budget, the growth of the staff, and with all the things we have coming down the pike on us, that we need to invest in some of this. And I don't know, Bill and Walker, if you guys have got anything to add.
So you would put this under line 3920, the training
Probably
and education, just for someplace to
Well-
put it?
I think it was proposed under 3060
36.
on page 41.
Oh, miscellaneous professional services?
I think that was
I'm gonna
from
let
the
Megan
principal.
tell us where to put it. I
There
don't
may be-
actually
maybe two
really care very
locations,
much, but,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I fully support it. I think it's a smart idea. We've been talking about establishing KPIs for a while, which are, as I've said previously, not always so easy to suss out what the right metrics are that really drive an organization. And this is, well within the sweet spot of management consulting, sort of, a very classic, textbook thing for them to do. So I think, if we can put, we are talking about, I don't know, $20,000, something in that nature, you know, somewhere in that realm to, and, you know, we don't obviously have anybody picked out or anything, but, something in that direction, you know, would, I think, really be beneficial to the town overall. And then on the training piece, you know, we were talking about that ICMA or something, which, you know, looks like, you know, department head memberships are $200 a year. You get half off on all these courses. You know, seems like that'd be well worth trying for a year and, you know, trying to take advantage of as much of the content as possible. They have stuff on AI, they have stuff on performance metrics, budgeting, you know, a lot of stuff that could be, you know, I'm sure there's fleet management kind of things in there. There's a lot of content. That I think would be beneficial.
Yeah, John, do you have any comments about ICMA?
You know, and they're the industry standard. I mean, they're sort of the big brother of MMA. That's sort of the international organization that sort of takes these municipal, or, you know, statewide municipal organizations and sort of fosters development within them. I think it's a great idea. I think it makes a lot of sense. Steve, you sort of said it about, you know, the growth and how things have changed and evolved. And I appreciate that, because that's something that I've felt, right? And it's not something that's easy to talk about, something that's not directly related to service delivery, and put it in this budget and say, hey, we got a tight budget here, but we gotta squeeze in room for X, Y, and Z.
It always seems like a nice to do, not a need to do.
Yeah.
To do staff training and to do these kinds of things. And look, that industry has a mixed reputation, because again, many of us have gone to retreats and this and that, you know, and lots of consultants make a very good living coming in and telling people what to do and then riding off into the sunset with money in their pocket. So I just want to be sure it's done really, really well and really strategically. Again, not a thing over here and a thing over here, and a thing over here, but that it flows out of a coherent sense of what the key things are that the town needs to do, and then departmental goals from there. I don't know that we can do it for 20,000. I probably would go for more than that, but anyway, that's the concept. And then there's some training. You know, the training piece in my mind is a little separate, because I really want to see some investment in AI and tech integration. We frankly have addressed capacity challenges by adding more staff. And I think in the private sector, they're getting better about how do we use technology to do some of those, and I think we just need to invest in that. So those might be two buckets, and maybe there's two different lines in here to invest in, but that's.
What are you comfortable with for a number on that? What do you, I
Well,
mean, are you talking like 25? Are you talking like 60?
No, we were looking at 25, and the math was essentially, when you look at, ICMA has a training module with about 10 different buckets in it for department heads, John. And these are, to be clear, these are not how to be a better finance director, okay? That's not what this is about. This is the ability to, set goals, manage people, manage process, manage costs, manage from a municipal perspective, your position, your job, et cetera. It's not about whether or not, you know, how you break out a budget. That's not what this is about. Like I said, there's about 8 modules, and there are many, I think 3 or 4 of them are dedicated towards setting goals,
That's right.
Performance management, that sort of thing.
Performance budgeting,
That's, without the membership, about $1,300 a pop, per person. So we took that math, said, okay, 13,000 for that, throw in another 10 for the sort of general consulting facilitator type role to get this working, and rounded it up to $1,025. That's about as complicated as we got.
Was it 16?
No, it was 24. but that
Has to be
wasn't-
25, not 26, because Helen will not like that.
If I were being joking here, I would say there's not enough information here, but I do appreciate that. I think that this is an approach, though, that it's holistic, and it really incorporates, you know, the entirety of what we're talking about, the challenges we're facing. Because, you know, and I've said this to others, the last few meetings we had, you know, I think we're the group, the budget committee, the select board, staff, and you know, I think we all agree there's challenges here. Sometimes we disagree maybe how to get to the end of that, but the point of it is, I think, you know, for some of you, it's been 2 years who've been part of this group, or longer, or Clay. But it's a really, there are big challenges that face us, right? And there's no easy answers to these things. And making some of these these challenges measurable and easy for us all to say,
Yeah.
hey, look, this is what it is.
Are we hitting a target or not?
Exactly, and we can point to it and have a conversation, why not, or why we're overachieving, or whatever it may be. So I think it's a great idea. In tight budgets, it's not a place that I would originally go to first, but I do see it as something that we could really use from stem to stern, and I think it's a great idea, you know.
So this is not bringing somebody in necessarily, it's this ICMA would be a series of modules that the various department heads would look at, or?
It would be a
would it-
combination.
It's a combination, you know, and the ICMA, I'll call it course, for
Yeah.
lack of a better word, has got 10 modules, each module's 2 to 4 hours to complete, okay? But we need someone to facilitate that with the staff.
So so they would go to a meeting like this and watch?
And say,
the
here's what
module?
we're gonna, no, they
No.
would do the training online by themselves.
Oh, okay, okay.
But you can't just say, go off and do that without putting context around it with respect to what you're trying to achieve as a team.
Right.
So in theory, the select board could look over that process. In theory, John could look over that process. It, you know, just depends on where people think that money should sit, okay?
Okay.
But we need to bring in someone else. It could be someone local.
Yes, almost certainly.
You know, Walker may know somebody, or Mr. Veman may know somebody. I'm not, you know, saying who that has to be. But someone has to be able to look at our process, knit it all together, and say, this is why we're doing this. Pre-vet the coursework. Hey, look, we did some web searching today. ICMA is a great organization, been around since like 1910. So it's not like they just walked out, you know, tomorrow, yesterday.
And that would be included, you see, is it something about a membership in this?
You can join,
Okay.
coursework's cheaper than, somebody's got to do the math.
Right, okay, but I'm just trying to get my head around
Yeah,
what,
and someone needs to spend time with the senior team,
the senior
know,
team being the town, or
the department heads.
Department head.
Because they're gonna, when we look at this book next year, if this all goes according to plan, we're gonna have departmental level goals that are aligned to the larger town goals.
Okay,
And when the department heads are gonna be able to sit in here and say, here are the key performance indicators that I've been looking at. I've grilled a couple of them as they've come in here to say, like, how are you? Yeah. So Jason's gonna come in here next year, he's gonna have all these performance metrics that he's looking at, and we're gonna talk about where we are in the performance metrics, and how does he try, how does he know, and what's the data he's collecting, and then that will help us make decisions about, do we do this, do we do that? So somebody's gonna have to spend time with each of these folks, sort of, all right, this is how you write a good one of these, this is how this one's aligned to this
And
other
that
one.
would be
And the board's gonna have to have a substantial commitment of their time as well, because they have to set the town-wide goals that then flow down to the department level for those goals.
so this facilitator would be from this company or somebody
Not
who's been
necessarily.
trained
It
in
wouldn't
this?
be ICMA, it'd be a local person.
Somebody local.
Some sort of consultant.
So there's classes, and then there's a consultant. added
Okay,
on.
so a consultant who may be a resident
Could be.
or,
Yeah,
Who's been through the-
local, and knows these processes, how to stitch together, and, you know, get everybody to, you know, on the same page with this. And
Good
let me
start
be
with
clear,
Jason.
this isn't about trying to tell people they're not doing a good job.
No,
This
that's
is-
not what it
this
is at all.
This is about training and professional development. Those are two different things.
yeah,
And
I'm just
so,
trying to understand how it would work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a professional
Okay.
development thing.
So I applaud the generosity of pointing out to the town that there's ways to improve their interactions, et cetera. What I'm a little bit unclear is what the budget committee does with the results of that. Maybe I don't quite understand the results, you know, as they delineate weaknesses and strengths, et cetera. But, for instance, the select board, the only person they manage, so to speak, is the town manager. The town manager takes care of all the rest.
Yep.
Is the budget committee putting themselves in a position of micromanaging?
No.
Or, so,
No.
explain to me what it is you do
Yeah,
with
there's,
those figures.
well, it's gonna come down to pipelines, right? So these departmental goals are gonna be set, right? Some combination of the select board and John. And then on the sort of management side, his job is going to be managing his team against their achievement of those goals. Like, this is what we're trying to achieve as a town, these are the goals, these are the metrics we're gonna look at when we do your performance, right? And this isn't HR, right? This isn't somebody's not showing up to work, or that's different. This is about being really strategic about making sure the work is what the town needs it to be. On our side, on the budget committee side, when we come in here, we're gonna have department goals here and performance measures that actually mean something, that give us some information to work from, so that when we're doing these hearings next year, we can say, all right, what were the needles that we were looking to move? We made this investment, we were hoping that this would be the outcome, or we hired this person to do something, or we brought somebody onto the staff because we didn't want to hire somebody. Like, we are, I mean, you know this, we stumble around in the dark here a lot of times because we don't have good data to work from to understand how these investments are paying off. And so building a better system like that will make it easier for John to manage his team, because everybody's gonna know exactly what they're here to do. And it's gonna give us better data and the board better data to make sort of strategic level decisions about investments in the budget and how everybody spends their time. But we're not gonna be managing staff, that's not our job, but it serves two purposes at once.
So you mentioned something about matrix. I'm an academic, not a business person. What are you talking about?
About
Matrices, you
matrices?
said something about goal matrices and goals and so on, that they have to meet?
Key performance indicators, remember we were
Right.
talking
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
that before,
that's what it
right?
is, yeah.
Okay,
So the concept of that is that you set for your department or the sphere of influence that you have. What am I trying to achieve this coming year, and what sort of measurements do I have in order to decide whether or not I have met those goals? Right now, we don't really do that. We do our job, and I'm not saying people do a poor job at their job.
Right.
This is just a way to sit down and say, okay, for the Public Works Department, I'm gonna have a series of metrics that say, I don't know, I'm gonna replace 10 sidewalks, or, whatever it is.
okay. But didn't we get some of that this year? I
We
mean, they
get
had
some,
goals and so on.
but they're not there. And we
Okay.
need to get, all the department heads, I say all, but maybe all, training to think that way. It's a mindset shift a little bit in terms of how we look at, how we manage the town and its assets and the future. Some of these questions that we've all had tonight, may have been answered if we had a fully robust process
Yep,
for this
exactly.
a year ago.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not saying that that's guaranteed, but that's the
Yeah.
concept, so.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let Walker talk here.
I was going to say the same. I think both of these roles tonight are great examples of why metrics and KPIs would be helpful. And it's not about the town's not doing a good job. You want to know when you make a change, do things get better or worse in a way that's easy to understand? So you know whether it was a good idea or you need to change something. So I think with the public services director, I mentioned that explicitly in the job description. If we could say, like, right now, whatever the metric is, and it's hard to get the right metrics, as I've said, but whatever it is, we can say, we expect this to improve by 10% by hiring this position. Then we have some way of being able to understand. And same with police, there's overtime figures and, response times and whatnot, just so that we have some better sense of what we're changing.
And we're getting some of that information. Like, if you look at Public Works, it says sand purchase in yards, salt purchase in tons, feet of culverts replaced. Like, we're getting part of the story. We're just not getting the sort of cost benefit. Like, what did it cost us to put that many culverts in? How do, we don't have nice, concise sort of data points that we can use to make these decisions and say, all right, is that metric moving in the direction that we want it to move or
Okay,
not?
so Mike will say, it's gonna cost me $50,000 to repave such and such a street so many miles. And then he comes back and says, we managed to do that and it actually cost us this amount.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Right. And that informs future decision-making, because now we've learned what kind of, what's the cost benefit ratio,
Okay.
The way that I partly look at this, Helen, because looking at the sort of the complexity issues and I wouldn't use fumbling around in the dark, I won't say that, but I do think that the budget committee process of old was one where you had 9 people, and everyone had their own sort of area of expertise, right? So at one point, everyone looked at you, get the cemeteries, and everyone looks at Helen. Are we doing a good job with cemeteries, Helen?
Yeah.
So there's that,
Yeah.
and
That's
it
a good
worked,
point.
right? We all knew each other, the departments were smaller, it was much more homespun that way. I think that in the last 2 years, and this is the frustration I have, so I feel like we've hit, in my mind, what I see, I feel like we've done a good job. I feel like we've done what we need to do here. But I have a very hard time trying to sometimes clearly explain that to everyone here. And I think that is, so I think this is a great opportunity for all of us to explain the story. And then also oh, maybe it wasn't as good as we thought here, or maybe this was better. So it provides us that benchmark that is very difficult right now for us to concisely explain to somebody in a quick letter to the editor or something like that. And I think that's really what is exciting and the opportunity for this, because, you know, things have changed, and they've changed rapidly in this town. And so there's a story for that, but also, like, are we meeting the mark? Are we not meeting the mark? And if we aren't, how do we adjust? And so I think it's a great idea. I'll stop talking. Everyone's, yeah, I think this is really important. That was the sign. This place is haunted, and stop talking, John. There you go.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to increase the budget by $25,000 to implement portions or entire, to implement
The plan is
aforementioned activity.
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
And that would go in line 3095 of, that's not a page number.
No, that's the
Yeah.
town manager budget,
Oh, 205, town manager budget,
line 309.
line 3095, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so that's the motion.
Second.
Yes. Helen had a second. Any other discussion before we vote? Bill, you've been quiet on this one. What have you been doing down there in Carolina?
I'm all in favor of it. It's a great idea, so I'm an aye.
Okay, Walker,
Aye.
Yes.
Yep. Great.
Craig? Good to hear from you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay, so I think that wraps up our discussion topics that we had on the agenda. The next spot on the agenda is any open discussion on items that we didn't have. Any specific questions with regards to this fiscal year's budget that were not on the agenda? Open it up to at least budget committee members.
I had two.
Okay. Fire
So
away.
the two, both in police. So again, my name's Clay Tolman. One was the chief's car, and the other was the stipend for animal control. I'll start with animal control. So I did some research, and not all surrounding towns pay a stipend to a particular officer to cover that duty. And my concerns that was brought up on a previous call was a lot of our officers travel from away. And if they're only working particular days of the week and particular schedule, how are we justifying paying that one individual officer a stipend if they live away and they're only here a small percentage of the time?
I presume that officer will be the one responding, or they won't respond if there's a call for animal control.
So there was, the way is handled previously to now, where we didn't have a stipend, but we had one officer who was doing it.
Jim, right?
No, Tony, actually.
Oh,
but
Tony?
Either
Okay,
way,
all
yeah. But same concept, right?
Yep.
So whoever the officer on duty would handle dog at large complaint or a barking complaint or whatever that might be, right? Take it to the shelter
Right.
and do that. It's really, the work for this is the late dogs who are on the dog warrant, who you then have to chase down and say, hey, you haven't paid your dog fee, you need to come in. And I'm looking at Liz, because she's the one who had to just hand this off to the person who was going to take over this position. So
I'm off
it's,
the list, right? All right, good.
you're okay, yeah. But it's, yeah, so it's more of, even though you have the.
That's why I want to cut it. I'm gonna be on the list next year.
No, you're fine. It's online. You can.
She's still here?
She's still here. I know. Just duck down. You'll be fine. Yeah, no, it's more about the enforcement side of it, as opposed to the complaint that comes in at the moment. So that was the enforcement of those late dogs or the bites that stays with the animal control officer, not with the necessarily the responding officer. The ACO takes the lead of those issues.
So the enforcement, would it happen in the same given 40-hour week that we're paying for already?
It would, but it's not part of the job description of any officer. So it's an added responsibility that's not part of the current run of things of any officer. So,
I mean, I'd be open to other people's opinion. I'm not, like Walker would say, I'm not gonna die on the hill, but it's a small number,
It
but
is.
I'm just looking at what we pay our employees, not just our officers, but what we pay our employees and our benefits and our sign-on bonuses. I just feel like this is a good example of just throwing extra because we can throw extra. That's just my opinion.
well, the other thing to that point is all the police officers are part of the police union, so anything that we change in a police officer's job description is collectively bargained.
Yep.
So we would have to go through that process. Now, the contract is up this year, and so we could certainly negotiate that matter. But if we don't have a budget for it, I don't know where we fit the funds.
That's
for it.
just the 5,000, yeah, and again, it's a small number, but it's just, for me,
I hear you.
it's just a position where,
Yeah.
With all due respect, he does earn that money.
Liz, I don't know if you wanna talk about this either, just cause it falls under your department, but at least in my head, I can certainly see what you're getting at. It does have a lot of merit to it, but I do think it takes up a lot of headspace outside of what your normal job is gonna be. I think animal control is removed enough from a typical PD position that someone's putting that upstairs, and it does take up some room.
So it is a lot of extra work. They have to go through, it's a small training, maybe Jim could speak to that, but it's basically a day, but what we hand over to the ACO, just case in point, we gave him a spreadsheet of 100 dogs in this town that he has to go door to door and, hey, you didn't pay, he's gonna serve a subpoena, follow up with them afterwards. It's just a lot of tracking. We get a lot of phone calls as well on daily. Poor Jim's taken the brunt of some of those recently, but barking dogs, you name it. Animals, not just dogs at large, any animals at large. So, I don't know, my opinion from the clerk's department, it's well worth giving someone that incentive to help us, keep everybody happy and track down the dogs.
I think the details we just got was quite a bit more than what we got last time too.
Valid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, Liz. Okay, any other discussion on that? Okay, moving on. You got another one fire away at?
Yeah, the cruiser. So that got brought up with just the position of the added police officer. So where does everyone else stand on that piece? I feel like we have three cruisers right now.
Yeah,
so.
agreed, but, I mean, it's effectively, in my head, taking the place of what Randy had for a cruiser. If it were gonna join the replacement schedule, I'd probably think a lot harder about this, even though I'm probably the last person that wants to give out a vehicle.
Do we have a replacement schedule for it? It's
No.
gotta go into place?
Not yet, no. But there is one thing, so when Chris met with you all, he was able to get a price for a used vehicle, I think it was 32 or 33.5. And then I think he gave some numbers about light bar and to lightly fit that out for what a chief's car would be. I think you could reduce that number down to 40,000. It's not the full amount that's requested here, but it is something. I would bring it up to the select board on Monday, but just to, and Chris will be there on Monday as well, so there may be some more information. Again, he's away, so he's not working on this right now. Certainly Jim is watching, but that would be certainly one cut that you could pursue if you wish to at this time. And that would still preserve the aspect of the vehicle that was proposed.
What are we talking about, 3 grand?
10.
Any other discussion on that?
Do we want to make a motion just to have the select board get a feel for a potential split on this? we might lose.
I mean, the vehicle's gonna get purchased. If the vehicle's gonna get purchased, you could, are you saying to try and split it out so you do like half this year, half
No,
next year?
just to
you're
give them
saying,
an
or-
idea of whether, whether who supports it, who doesn't, but I'll let it, I retract my comment.
Okay. All right, any other discussion on this? Bill, anything from you down there?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm not sure I understood the comment. Was it that we did not want to support the chief getting this vehicle? I'm not sure I understood. Craig, what your point was, that's all.
I was kind of just more looking to where everyone else stood on it. I just felt like it was another vehicle when we had 3 cruisers.
Yeah. I just think, based on what he said to us in our last meeting, certainly the chief, if we expect him to go out in the middle of the night, I guess, that we ought to have his own vehicle. It's not the Bruce Woodward scenario of 30 years with a Toyota, but I think you ought to have a chief's car, yes.
Okay. Anything else on that, or any other discussion items not on the agenda?
I've got one, Clay.
Hit me with it.
So I want to, again, you're sitting down, but I want to give John a little more money, but specifically. So as you guys know, I've been beating this drum about regionalization. I think it's something we're not doing as much as we probably could. I know we've talked about the dance partners and all the rest of it. And we're in a hard spot because we're the budget committee, so we don't have, I mean, in theory, I guess we could talk to our budget committee colleagues in the other towns, so maybe we should do that, and I should stop mouthing off about it and just do it myself. But I'm sitting here, one of the most encouraging things I heard over the last few days was Megan talking about how she had worked with her colleagues and connected with her colleagues in the other towns. And so what I was thinking is, what can we do to sort of smooth that as much as possible and make sure there's no barriers to that, and to support that financially as necessary? So the idea is some type of, and I'm thinking this would go in your contingency fund, John, but it would be essentially like a regionalization reserve fund. It would sit there, it would be available to you, it would be available to the team. It would pay for them to bring people in here and buy pizzas and talk about regionalization. It would be about, hey, we need $1,000 to pay for some kind of study to see if this would make sure. We gotta hire somebody to run some numbers to see if that adds up. I'm not talking big money. I'm thinking $10,000 or something like that. That would go in your contingency fund. It would be specifically for this. Periodically, we get together. We ask you how you spend it. I know the select board's gonna do something with a regionalization. I don't know what that's gonna look like or how they're planning to take that on. But it just felt like, is there some little thing that we can do that just is about, not make money or resources a barrier to these kinds of discussions? And look, it might sit there and not get spent, but it might also be that we've got, folks here in the town who are like, oh, we could get our colleagues together and we could spend a half a day talking about how we might do this together. So that's the idea. I don't have much more on it than that, other than it would be a sort of dedicated little chunk of money that, again, you could take to the department heads and you could say, look, this money's here.
Yeah.
We're gonna wanna know how it got spent, and hopefully it's like, oh, we had this meeting and we decided we can share this, or we're gonna jointly buy a computer, or I don't know, whatever it might be. We've got a new fuel contract, or we get something, but some kind of way that we can just start getting the ball rolling on a small scale. I understand there are much bigger discussions around police and fire and EMS, and there's a lot to do. But this just felt like we could walk out of here with making some positive motion in the direction of supporting regionalization incentives. Again, it's not a big swing, and, doing these other things are gonna take separate resources, but this is something that Megan could grab, or any of the rest of the team could grab and say, I'm gonna go work on this, and I think we can figure out how to do this. So that's the ask.
So you're gonna plan on adding it under line 4450, that contingent?
Yeah.
On
I would,
page
unless,
47.
Megan could tell me if that makes the most sense, but it's really just a little added chunk.
Yep.
That would be designated for that inside the contingency fund.
I think something like that might even be worth adding its own line so that you can see where it's targeted. It's easier to track.
I don't wanna create work for you, that's why I said we'll take it to
I think that's a worthwhile thing to add.
Okay.
A specific line, because if you roll it into a contingency, then you've got 5,000 going here.
Yeah.
2,000 going here, so it's hard to,
Okay.
separate something so targeted
Yep.
in something so general.
That's broad.
So
Okay, I got you.
if you target it more, I
All
think
right.
that makes sense.
I'm fine with that.
So I drafted a motion to add $10,000 to the town manager's budgeted, targeted to regionalization efforts.
Perfect.
You're better than ChatGPT.
So I heard Steve make a motion.
I said she's better than ChatGPT.
No question. No
Making
question.
GPT.
Claude, move over, Claude.
Yeah.
So Steve, I heard you make that motion, and
Yes.
I'll second it.
Okay, so this would be to add another 10,000 to the 20 that's already in the contingency.
No, we
fund.
came up with adding a new line.
A new line.
specifically
Yeah, Megan's
for
gonna add a
this.
new line, so
Oh.
we can track it specifically, separate from whatever else John's gonna spend his $20,000
Okay.
on.
You say spend or blow?
His walking around money.
And on that comment, who's it reported to? Like, is it reported back to like your monthly?
Well, it would be
report
John
the
to
select
manage,
board?
and then we would,
I mean, would it be part of like your monthly?
It will
select board?
still show up under the, I'm assuming, the town manager department.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I know, like when we get this, where it would show, but like when
Oh, who-
efforts are made, it would be part of like, hey, we did this, but
Yeah.
when time
Yeah.
comes.
I think that's right, yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly, we have our quarterly reports that we do, so, I mean, that'd be a good place to sort of highlight that as well, so.
And we're a little ahead of the sort of regionalization task force concept that I
Yep.
think we're gonna hear about in
Yep.
about a week, right?
Yep.
But I think it's appropriate.
And let's hear about them or hear from them?
No, from the select board.
Oh,
How they're
regarding-
thinking about
Get
the,
it pulled together. And what we're doing is putting a placeholder budget in there so that group can access funds if they are needed.
Okay, any other
Well-
discussion?
I'm slightly concerned, well, if the understanding is, not sure I'm thrilled with the select board taking a hold of our $10,000 and go, I really want, it's really meant for the staff, because that's where I see the most promise at this point, frankly, is the staff talking to their colleagues in the other states, the other towns. So that's kind of what I was thinking. Again, I don't know, you're right, we're ahead. I don't know how the select board's thinking about what the regionalization
Right.
task would look like or what money they would need to spend, but,
And I'll be comfortable that they're gonna do the right thing.
yeah, okay.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion? Okay, let's take a vote. Bill, you wanna start this one off again?
That's a yay.
Jeff?
Yay. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes, unanimous.
Unanimous.
thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so any other items we want to add in the open discussion from our budget committee members?
Any more
Okay.
money to spend? Any more money to spend?
No, I'm just gonna quit while I'm ahead.
Okay, do we want to review or discuss any of the public comments that were made earlier at all? Touch on those if we haven't already? Okay. Well, next step on there is to adjourn unless anyone has anything else crazy.
So just talking
Clay, could you
process?
just
Okay.
explain the procedure next week on voting, please?
Yep, so what we're gonna do right now, well, not right now, but after this meeting, we're gonna draft a letter. The budget committee will draft a letter to the select board that depicts all our motions and recommendations that will adjust the budget. When the select board meets on Monday, whatever that date is, they're gonna look over our recommendations, look over the budget, and they're going to finalize the select board's budget. Once that budget is finalized, we'll see that, and then on Wednesday, April 1st, we're gonna meet and vote on a yes or a no, or a thumbs up or a thumbs down vote on the select board's budget as budget committee members. And that vote is what will show up on the ballot this year.
And we talked about having, again, explanations of things where we disagree with the select board, and where will those appear?
I don't have a specific answer for you on that. I think our goal is to at least see how this shakes out and then,
Yeah, we
John.
can just create an area on the town website for that.
okay,
That's the logical place to put it.
okay.
It's better than me walking around with a sandwich board with all these recommendations, Bill, so.
While he pushes the stroller.
Oh, well, that's right, there you go, there you go.
You might get pies thrown at you, John.
Probably, more than likely, more than likely.
Does that clarify it enough for you, Bill? Any other questions
It
about it?
does, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on process? Okay.
Just as a thing, will Megan send out a quick summary to all of us, so we,
Yeah, and we'll
And
have
then
to
you'll
look
see
over
the
our
drafted
meeting
letter
minutes
to us.
as well. And
Yeah.
then at some point in here also, we need to vote on all our previous meeting minutes that we have not passed yet. Okay.
Clay?
John, yeah.
I'd just like
Senator.
to have a word of appreciation for your leadership in this meeting. You
Yeah.
ran
Yeah.
a great meeting, and we got through it.
Yep.
It was well organized, and everybody else did a great job contributing, so thank you for that.
Second that motion.
Here, here, Clay,
Yeah,
yeah.
appreciate it. Certainly, I think we all at least came together, certainly had some good conversation. I think we'll give the board some pretty good direction on what we're feeling. And hopefully continue the process, working together. I do appreciate the work that all the department heads and town employees put together to get this in front of us. Certainly Megan was a large contributing factor to all this, keeping us all together, so appreciate all your hard work, Megan, and all the department heads as well.
Yes,
Okay. Anything else? All right, let's call it a night.
Thank you, everyone.
So.
All right.
What a different year I thought.
Yeah.